Chapter 295. Lu Qing felt that he had matured a lot in all aspects and had surpassed his current age and status. Although he often fantasized about his future wedding with Yan Zhike, growing old together with her, and living a beautiful life with her, he had never considered such details of his life. He was a little confused for a moment. Was it because girls matured earlier than boys and had a different way of thinking? That was why they could think about the long term and draw the outline bit by bit? Or was it because only a few people were like that? They were rational, mature, and had their own views and attitudes on all aspects of things? After pondering for a while, Lu Qing didn't hide his thoughts. He deliberated and said, "I don't think so. I think this is a very normal and realistic consideration. If my grandparents moved here, my mom would quarrel with them every 3 days or 5 days because of her favoritism toward my second dad. Sooner or later, something would happen. I think that when two people are together, there are already a lot of things that need to be done. If we also involve the original families of both parties, it will definitely be more tiring, more troublesome, and easier for problems to arise. Moreover, your parents and mine are all over 40 years old, and have already been fixed in all aspects. It's hard for them to change. It's better to keep a distance from them, so as to avoid quarrels. Everyone is harmonious. If you miss them, you can go back and stay for a few days. If they are sick, you can also take care of them for a period of time. Hire a professional nurse." Yan Zhike explained her point of view, which was rare for her to be long-winded. She didn't intend to talk about this with Lu Qing right now. She planned to influence him subtly in their daily interactions. However, after the romantic moment in the afternoon, she suddenly felt that they had become closer and closer. They were more like one country. She didn't have to worry about anything to say to him. "It does make sense. I just haven't thought about this problem. I feel like I have to wait for a long time before I face it. I don't need to worry about it now." Lu Qing thought and replied. Yan Zhike said, "It's good that you haven't thought about it before. Dirty Tong said that this is perfect for me to teach. It's easier to draw on a blank piece of paper than to edit other people's work." "Hey, why do I feel that your words are a little dirty?" Lu Qing sent an emoji with raised eyebrows. He gradually agreed with Yan Zhike's views on this matter. "You are the dirty one. Your head is full of dirty thoughts." Yan Zhike, who was lying on her side on the bed, snorted and gnashed her teeth. "Who was the one who randomly kissed and touched her in the afternoon?" Seeing this sentence, Lu Qing immediately recalled the previous scene. He thought of the brilliant sunlight and the stunning beauty. "Ku, you are so beautiful," he replied with a blushing expression. "Ah." Yan Zhike was stunned at first, confused by Lu Qing's sudden praise. Then she connected the context and understood what he meant. Her cheeks flushed red as if they could spit out fire. "Qing, you scoundrel! You scoundrel!" She grabbed the blanket and covered her head, pounding the bed a few times. After venting, she replied with a go-away emoji, embarrassed, angry, proud and sweet. I don't talk to perverts." Without waiting for Lu Qing's reply, she thought of something and found a Weibo post. She saved a picture and sent it to her boyfriend. "Who do you think has a better figure between the two girls? Which one do you prefer?" One was slender with a thin waist, while the other was full of curves. Lu Qing glanced at him and chuckled. "Not as good as you." Yan Zhike burst out laughing. She lifted the blanket and rolled around. "Yo, you even know the standard answer." "Of course, Coach Yan is good at teaching." Lu Qing put his hands on his hips and laughed. It's not fun if I don't fall for it." Yan Zhike smiled. The two flirted for a while. If Qi Fong wasn't focused on the TV series, she would have noticed her son's ripples. "Oh right, Ku, is Sister Jingjing suitable for a party? How about we treat her twice?" Lu Qing expressed his doubts when they talked about the treat tomorrow night. "Sister Jingjing hates men so much," Yan Zhike said. In the beginning, Songli said she wanted to bring a boyfriend, so Shuang suggested we treat both parties together. It's more fun with more people. I was also worried about Sister Jingjing's condition, so I said we should treat her separately. But Sister Jingjing said we don't have to go through so much trouble. The best attitude for people with psychological problems is to treat them as normal people and let them adjust themselves. The more sensitive and caring we are, the more uncomfortable they will feel, and the more serious the problem will be. That makes sense. Lu Qing stopped thinking about this problem and prepared to follow Coach Yan's instructions to sound out Fatty Jiang and Qin Rue. He asked them not to mention the case at dinner. Tomorrow afternoon, according to the agreement with Chairman Wei Renjia, he had to guide the special training team for the preliminaries in Xioshan for 4 hours. It was 10:30 at night. Because of the breakthrough in their relationship in the afternoon, Lu Cheng and Yan Zheke were reluctant to end their conversation. They delayed it for 10 minutes before saying good night to each other. Lu Qing lay on the bed, bathed in the moonlight outside the window, recalling every detail of the day. His nose seemed to be lingering with the intoxicating fragrance. He felt refreshed, confident, and satisfied. Next time to go to Ke's house? Will it be a Western-style wedding or a Chinese-style wedding? I wonder what Ke looks like in a wedding dress. He smiled and indulged his thoughts, thinking about the future. After a few minutes, he froze the water into ice, concealed his spirit and qi, and fell into a deep sleep. We can meet again tomorrow. Tomorrow is another beautiful day. On the other side, Yanjeka lay on her side with her right hand under her cheek. Her lips were outlined, her dimples were shallow, and her mind was wandering. She blinked her eyelashes and closed her eyes. She said in a low voice, "Good night, Cheng." The next morning, Lu Qing got up with great motivation and ran to the lakeside at Hoshui Lake, waiting for the arrival of his little fairy. Yan Zheke arrived a few minutes earlier than usual. She wanted to pretend that nothing had happened, but when she saw Lu Cheng's smiling eyes, she couldn't help but remember what happened yesterday afternoon. She quickly turned her head and looked to the side. Her face was tender and charming. She was dizzy and was hugged by him, completing the morning kiss. "Well, hurry up and practice." She pushed her boyfriend away, her eyes twinkling like stars. "Yes, I'm full of motivation." Lu Qing joked, collected his mind, and started his daily practice. In the end, he took out the visualization diagram again to understand the essence and charm of it. When he sank his spirit into the prairie fire diagram for the nth time, his body suddenly felt like it was burning, and his muscles, tendons, viscera, and nerves naturally had subtle changes. This feeling disappeared in a flash. Lu Qing wanted to taste it again, but he couldn't grasp it. But he wasn't impatient or annoyed, because this was a good start. It meant that he was on the right path. It meant that the previous experience of understanding the visualization diagram of Frost Force was very useful. It meant that the breakthrough in his relationship with Ke yesterday had brought him greater happiness and greater responsibility, and his will to protect became stronger and firmer. Thinking of this, he opened his eyes and looked sideways at the girl who was practicing her bone marrow and viscera not far away. Yanjika also finished her practice and looked at him subconsciously. When their eyes met, they looked at each other and smiled, their eyes intertwining. Without saying anything, they tacitly withdrew their gazes and continued their practice full of motivation. Because Yanjika's body was much healthier, she could bear more training intensity. After breakfast, they returned to the original place and practiced for 2 more hours. After accompanying the girl to the city library for an hour of self-study and lunch, Lu Cheng came to the gate of Gushan Martial Arts School. Before he walked in, he saw a black Audi in front of him. The driver hurriedly opened the door and got off, asking respectfully, "Are you Mr. Lu? The chairman asked me to take you to the special training place." Sure enough, it's a special car. Lu Qing didn't refuse. After confirming that Qin Rue would go by himself, he got in the car and sat at the back of the passenger seat. Looking at the scenery passing by, they came to an inconspicuous temple at the foot of Xioshan. "Little Lu, you're here." Wei Renjia personally waited outside. Lu Cheng was a little flattered and smiled politely. "Chairman, you don't have to wait outside. I'm not a kid who doesn't know the way." Wei Renjia handed the briefcase to his secretary and led Lu Qing into the temple. "I just happened to come out. This time I've selected 13 potential amateur fighters and invited Little Sun, a professional 9th pin fighter, to be the chief instructor." While talking, Lu Qing saw a martial arts field paved with white flagstones. He saw Zhou Zhengyao and other disciples of other martial arts schools, and an old monk in a gray frock. "This is the abbot of the Bodhi Zen Temple, Master Wenguang." When he was young, he traveled all over the north and south and was quite famous. He even got a 6th pin certificate. He's a famous senior in Xioshan and also the other instructor I invited. Wei Renjie introduced him with a smile. Wen Guang put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. I'm old. I'm not as brave as I used to be, let alone a young hero like Donor Lu. When he was talking, Lu Qing suddenly felt that the monk in front of him was a little taller, with layers of glazed golden light, as if Arhat Buddha had come down to earth. People couldn't help but worship him. But in reality, Wen Guang's body didn't change at all. Is this a sign of something else? Is this the suppression of momentum or the secret of the mind? Lu Cheng's pupil shrank. Chapter 296. Facing monk Wen Guang, Wei Renjie didn't react at all. Lu Cheng, on the other hand, felt more and more like a Buddha. He could think rationally and sense that something was wrong, but he didn't have the slightest intention to fight. When two martial artists were facing each other, if they didn't have the intention to fight, it would be hard for them to get excited and react quickly, which would cause them to be slow in blocking. Fortunately, Wen Guang just stood there with a smile and looked at Lu Qing leisurely. He didn't intend to make a move. Lu Qing tried to visualize the scene of condensing water into ice, but the lake in his heart strangely reflected a golden Buddha statue with hand seals. It was grand, solemn, bright, and solemn, suppressing all distracting thoughts. Interesting. Thinking quickly, he made a decision. He sank his spirit and connected with the Jindan, magnifying its own mood. The scenery around him changed and became deep and boundless. Lu Qing only felt that his heart was like a blue planet floating in the dark and cold darkness. The golden Buddha statue was in the center with a compassionate expression and benevolent eyes. Humph! His thoughts rose and touched the grand sun, making his heart and the Buddha statue quickly become small. Soon Lu Qing saw the galaxy, the Milky Way, and the boundless bright starry sky. At this scale, the golden Buddha statue had disappeared without a trace. He couldn't see it at all. Your body and name will be destroyed, but the rivers and rivers will last forever. Wen Guang's leisurely and warm smile suddenly froze. He found that Lu Qing in front of him became empty and deep, making him feel like he was looking at the night sky. While his heart was broadened, he inexplicably felt the grandeur of nature and his own insignificance. The countless stars that dotted the night sky were like Lu Cheng's eyes, quietly and indifferently looking at her. Drip. Wen Guang's forehead was covered in cold sweat. It slid down his face and fell to the ground, splashing everywhere. His body swayed, and he subconsciously closed his eyes. He loosened the hand seal that he was secretly making and stumbled back 2 steps. Master Wen Guang? Only then did Wei Renjie notice that the atmosphere was a little strange. Wen Guang stopped and opened his eyes. He looked at Lu Qing in astonishment, only to see this cool and steady young man with a faint smile on his face. His momentum was restrained and he looked normal. The smell of the starry sky just now was like an illusion. The younger generation will surpass us in time. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Wen Guang gave a wry smile and put his palms together. I saw that benefactor Lu was young and full of vigor, so I couldn't help but test him secretly. I didn't expect to suffer a loss. This was an imposing manner attack combined with part of the gist of trueness of the Buddhist sect's valiant virtue secret method. Initially, he thought that a young man who had just entered level 8, no matter how outstanding his combat power was and how close he was to level 7, would have no way to resist it. He would have to rely on stimulating his qi and blood to destroy his body to get rid of it. Who would have thought that the other party's imposing manner was as deep as the abyss and as deep as the mountains, like the boundless starry sky above his head, was actually more powerful than him. After the 8th pin, firstly, the body would develop in the direction of training the root pulp. Secondly, the spirit, qi, blood, and force would gradually deepen the integration, laying a solid foundation for the external connection. During this process, there would naturally be layers of miraculous effects. For example, some 7th pin members would have absolute reaction to danger and malice within a certain range, and some 6th pin members would have imposing means without the use of secret spiritual methods. Wen Guang did not expect to experience the feeling of a senior rank 6 from a young man who had just entered rank 8. Hearing this, Lu Qing smiled slightly. You're too kind. Master, you're being modest. The higher the level of martial arts, the richer the means would be. No need for modesty, no need for modesty. Monks don't lie. You are indeed a genius with unlimited potential. Wenguang chanted the name of Buddha and paid his respects to Wei Renjia. This poor monk will take his leave now. Watching him walk into the meditation hall, Zhou Zhengyao and the other special training members were a little stunned. They had experienced Master Wenguang's means in the past 2 days and had almost worshipped him like a bodhisattva or arhat. However, such a powerful senior rank, 6th Mighty One, a senior of Xiushan, actually suffered in front of Lu Qing? Although Master Wenguang was old and his physical condition was deteriorating, his short burst of power was not much worse than that of a 6th pin in his prime. While they were still in shock and doubt, Wei Renjia calmed down and took out the secret books and diagrams of the internal training method for Lu Qing to browse first so that it would be convenient for him to guide them later. At this time, Qin Rui, Dai Linfeng, and Su Rongfei, the 3 disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School, arrived and noticed the strange scene. What happened just now? Dai Linfeng pulled a disciple of Foguang Martial Arts School and whispered. This disciple did not hide anything and described Master Wenguang's strange behavior and words. Qin Rui and the others were stunned as if they were listening to a legend. This is not scientific. They secretly sighed. Is it because the more you know Lu Qing, the more unfathomable he is? Soon Lu Qing finished reading the internal training methods provided by the Foundation and found that it was much more inferior than his own Thunder Roar Zen. It was almost impossible to practice Tremor Punch with it. Well, let's start practicing. I'll watch first. Lu Qing put away the diagrams and smiled at the special training members who were standing in 3 rows. Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng took the lead and answered in unison. Yes, Instructor Lu. Their voices were loud and clear, echoing in the quiet Zen temple, without any reluctance. In a room deep in the Zen temple, Wenguang typed on the keyboard with 2 fingers and wrote an email. Got in touch with the target. Great potential, almost as good as Prungrun. After 4 hours of guidance, Lu Qing changed his clothes and took a car to the villa area by the backwater lake to pick up Yenjika. She had relatives in the afternoon, so she couldn't meet Gu Shuang and the others in advance. Nervous? After a short while, he saw his girlfriend walking out gracefully in a white cotton dress and a pair of canvas shoes, emphasizing the feeling of a young girl and the artistic style of youth. Yenjika rolled her eyes. Why should I be nervous? Anyway, they all know you are my Cheng. My nervousness comes from lack of confidence. Facing Cheng's friends, I am quite confident. They chatted and laughed, took a taxi to the place where they were treating guests to dinner, Drunken Beauty Mountain. According to the message sent by Gu Shuang, they found the private room directly. In the private room, Qin Rui had already arrived and was talking cheerfully with Fatty Jiang, Tao Xiaofei and Du Liyu. From time to time, he would steal glances at the mature and beautiful Gu Shuang opposite him. Xing Jingjing sat between the petite and pretty Song Li and her best friend Gu Shuang. Although she looked indifferent, there was nothing unusual about her. She was whispering something to her 2 friends. From time to time, she would accompany Jiang Fei and the others to reminisce about the past in the No. 1 high school. She heard the footsteps first. When she turned around, she happened to see the door open and Lu Qing and Yenjika walking in hand. Jiang Fei subconsciously held his breath. He saw that the girl he had seen before was even more beautiful than she was in the past. She was even more beautiful than she was in his memory. However, she was less polite and courteous. Her eyebrows were more lively, and her eyes were filled with the taste of the mortal world. His good friend was not tall, but he was tall enough. He was not handsome, but he was pleasing to the eye. He was calm and gentle, confident and modest. The 2 of them walked in side by side, their fingers interlocked. It was like a scene from a TV series was imprinted in his eyes. They were a perfect match. The melancholy and sadness in Jiang Fei's heart completely disappeared. The room was quiet for a while. When Lu Qing and Yenjika walked to their seats, Du Liyu picked up his wine glass and said with a smile, Cheng, you have to apologize to me. You can use tea as wine and toast me 3 times. Before the others could say anything, he explained, It's your fault for being so good. Your girlfriend always praises you in front of our Songli. In the end, I'm the one who suffers. There's no harm without comparison. Songli's favorite thing to say now is that you should learn from Chung, blah blah blah. Before he could finish, Songli pinched him and glared at him. Lu Qing looked at Yenjika with a smile. He did not expect her to praise him in front of her best friend so often. Yenjika turned her head and raised her chin. She did not respond. Okay, these 3 glasses deserve it. Lu Qing replied cheerfully. When he was about to pick up his glass, Gu Shuang touched the roulette table with the bottom of her glass and said with a smile, "Let's toast together. I wish that Chung and Ku will always be united and grow old together." What kind of line is that? Yenjika scolded Gu Shuang. Hee, I wish you all the best. Gu Shuang cheekily encouraged the others to toast them. Tao Xiaofei and the others were eager to see the world in chaos. They said in unison, "I wish the 2 newlyweds will be of one heart and grow old together, ha ha ha." Lu Qing looked at Yenjika with a smile and egged her on. "Drink up. You all the best. You all the best." Yenjika gritted her teeth and glared at him. She took a deep breath and generously accepted the toast. The atmosphere suddenly became lively. Everyone talked and laughed and joked with each other. In the end, they even urged Lu Qing and Yenjika to drink cross-cupped wine. Because of the spy Lu Qing, the girl could not resist. She had to cross her arms shyly and drink a glass of juice with him. Time flew by after the gathering. Lu Qing practiced his martial arts step by step, taught the VIP class, and gave pointers to the special training. From time to time he would visit his grandparents, as well as visit his elders like Director Xing and the others. Of course, the most important thing was his date with Yenjika. Because his house was not safe, he could only consider the girl's bedroom. The number of times they made out could be counted on one hand. But every time, Lu Qing remembered it clearly and was very satisfied. In the blink of an eye, August was coming to an end. The summer vacation was coming to an end. Lu Qing habitually came to the backwater lake to practice. But when school was about to start, Yenjika was asked by her grandparents to stay for a short while. She would not come back until 2 days later. Thinking of his little fairy, Lu Qing calmed down and visualized the scene of a prairie fire burning the earth. He felt a burning pain in his body, and the changes in his muscles and fascia occurred naturally. Without the help of the Jindan, he successfully grasped the essence and charm of the prairie fire picture and the Zhurong picture in just over 20 days. At the end of the practice, Lu Qing adjusted his muscles and wriggled his organs to make the corresponding changes of the prairie fire picture. He let the flames surge, and then sketched in his mind the god with the head of a beast and the feet of a human. The flames quieted down as if they were suppressed and tamed to the extreme. Lu Qing took a step forward and punched the void with his right fist. Boom! An explosion rang out, and with his fist as the center, a few waves of fire rolled out, the burning intent distorting the light. Lu Qing withdrew his hand and stopped with satisfaction. He turned around and left. With the lake behind him, he was full of anticipation for the start of school. National University Martial Arts Competition, here I come. Peng Liyun Renli, here I come. Chapter 297. The cool morning breeze blew away the aura of the autumn tiger. Yen Xiaoling dragged her luggage and left the registration area. She followed the senior in front of her and found her dorm, Block 2, Unit 3, Room 401. She was wearing a loose white t-shirt with a knot at the bottom. She was wearing high heels. She was not as active and cheerful as she was on the internet. Instead, she was as quiet as a quail. After thanking the senior, she pushed open the half-closed door and found Room A. As soon as she entered, her vision blurred and she saw a black kitten running past her. She jumped up in fright and screamed. But when she turned around to look at the door, searching for the black cat, her eyes met with a pair of round spectacles. Yen Xiaoling tilted her body and tilted her head. She looked around the empty living room, but couldn't find the kitten from earlier. Did you see a cat? It's so black and it runs so fast. She blurted out to her roommate in front of her. She should be my roommate. She thought suspiciously, because this girl with round glasses was dressed in dull and old-fashioned clothes. She seemed to have left home in a hurry and brought the wrong clothes for her elders. You must be seeing things. The girl with the round glasses answered calmly. Probably. Yan Xiaoling looked around again, but still couldn't find the black kitten. She smiled and said, "Hello, I'm Yan Xiaoling. From now on, we're roommates." The girl with the round glasses nodded. "He's the bed by the window." She pointed to the left. "Box." Yan Xiaoling didn't understand and asked back. "Look at the name list on the door." He had round glasses and a round face. "There's a name list on the door?" Yan Xiaoling turned her head and saw a piece of paper with black words on a white background. "You're turning into a box. That's my nickname." He pushed up her glasses and smiled politely. "How can you be sure that you're in room A without looking at the name list?" Yan Xiaoling was stunned for a few seconds and answered weakly, "Intuition." As soon as she finished speaking, she saw a flash of light in He's glasses. She almost had the illusion that she would be called a retard. But my intuition is right. At this moment, another young lady came in from outside the door. She was dressed in a white Han costume with red patterns. She had a pretty face and was brimming with youth. One is dressed like an auntie, and the other is dressed in traditional Chinese clothing. Can I say that this is indeed the Academy of Arts? They are all so independent and unique. But they are all good-looking, including me. Cough. Yan Xiaoling was lost in her thoughts until the new girl introduced herself. "Hello, I am Mu Jinyan. I arrived last night." Hello, I'm Yan Xiaoling." Yan Xiaoling happily replied, almost rushing up to shake hands with the other person. What to do? They're all taller than me. Even though I've already put on my combat boots. At the same time, she thought sadly. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Yan Xiaoling took out her phone and browsed the forum. She saw many replies. "Let's go to the martial arts club and watch the live broadcast of Lucheng." "Brat, don't be a coward. If you don't dare, I'll call you Cowardly Ling in the future. Either you broadcast what you see in the martial arts club, or you broadcast eating sh*t. It's your choice." Damn it. Why did I say that I would go to the martial arts club to film Lucheng as soon as I arrived at Songqing University? I'm sorry, I'm sad. Yan Xiaoling looked at the urging of Brahmin and others. She was excited and nervous. See my idol. She raised her head and asked without much hope. "What's the matter?" "I'm going to the martial arts club. Are you coming with me?" Normal freshmen should be more concerned about military training at this time. However, as soon as she finished speaking, she heard two answers in unison. Okay. Yan Xiaoling looked at the round-faced girl, He's, and then at the aloof Mu Jinyan. She suddenly didn't know how to react. I just asked casually, soon. She came to her senses and found courage in the company of her two roommates. She beamed with joy and said, "Then let's go now. As for the luggage, I'll pack it when I come back. La Lucheng, I'm coming." Walking across the square, the long bridge and the teaching area, the three girls arrived at the martial arts club. Since the school hadn't officially started yet, they found that there were few people in the stadium. Only a few people were putting up slogans. The slogans were red and black, filling the stadium with burning passion. The content of the slogans was similar, and they all set the goal. National final match. Seeing these words, Yan Xiaoling felt her blood boiling. She subconsciously moved closer to them, and suddenly felt that the boy who was directing this work was quite familiar. I know you." She stammered for a long time before she finally shouted out excitedly. Kai Zoming glanced at the girl with a lowly face and thought half doubtfully and half proudly. "Do I have fans? Did I get them with my face?" Before he could say anything, Yan Xiaoling added, "You're Lu Cheng's classmate, right? You were interviewed by the TV station together. I've watched that video many times." Kai Zoming reached out to cover his face and said half-jokingly, "Have I fallen to this point? Do I have to rely on the identity of Lu Cheng's classmate to identify myself?" Yan Xiaoling first took a few photos of the martial arts club and posted them on the forum. Then she plucked up the courage to ask, "Where's Lu Cheng?" Mu Jinyan beside her also spoke at this time, "Where's Lin K?" He, on the other hand, was seriously looking at the surroundings. Kai Zoming sighed and spread out his hands. The special training hasn't officially started yet. Of course, they've found a place to practice by themselves. Then why are you here? Yan Xiaoling blurted out in disappointment. It took me a lot of courage to come here. Why am I here? I have to be here. I'm the president of the martial arts club. Kai Zongming answered, annoyed and amused. You're the president? Yan Xiaoling almost showed a look of, who do you think you are? Mu Jinyan was also a little confused. What's wrong? I don't look like the president. Kai Zongming didn't get angry at being questioned. He smiled and said, yes, you don't look like the president. I think so myself too. Our last president graduated in his 4th year. Normally speaking, the successor should be selected from the few people with the highest martial arts skills. Only in this way can the public be convinced. But damn, one of them said it was too troublesome, and the other didn't even say anything. He just took a look and left. I wanted to decline, but the teacher said that the school had already decided. How can a good substitute like me become the president of the martial arts club? Influenced by Comrade Zhao Chong, he also learned some sentence patterns. Oh, very Lin K. Mu Jinyan smiled. This is Lin K's fan. Yan Xiaoling puffed out her small chest and smiled happily. Also very Lin K. Haha, thank you for your hard work. After that, she added a patting on the shoulder emoji in her heart. After chatting for a while, they became more familiar with Kai Zongming. Yan Xiaoling gradually showed her true colors and asked with expectation. When does the martial arts club start classes? Can I sign up now? You're freshmen, right? You have to wait for the military training to have a unified enrollment. Kai Zongming just said a few words when he suddenly saw 2 familiar figures coming over. He hurriedly raised his hand to greet them. Senior brother Sun. Senior sister Lin. Sun Jian laughed and said, you're indeed the new president. You're so dutiful. We just passed by and found you. Serving the people. Kai Zongming pretended to be serious and amused everyone. Senior brother Sun, senior sister Lin. I thought you would be busy with writing papers and looking for jobs this semester and wouldn't come to the martial arts club. Relying on his outgoing and talkative personality, he had a good relationship with the special training members of the martial arts club. Sun Jian's eyes were in a trance for a moment, and then he smiled and said, after 4 years in college, we want to leave a good ending. Our martial arts club is competitive in the country with 2 dance stage fighters. We'll definitely surpass the previous year's results. Haha, we're here to freeload on Lu Qing and Lin K. For the national finals. For the national finals. Kai Zongming reached out and bumped with them, his eyes full of longing and expectation. Looking at them, Yan Xiaoling suddenly wished that it was November soon. Alas, I didn't see Lu Qing at the first moment. Out of the martial arts arena, Yan Xiaoling was still in melancholy. He said thoughtfully, the collision of muscles and hot blood. I really want to write an essay. You can write essays? Yan Xiaoling looked at her roommate in surprise. Not only can I write, but I can also speak. When we're close, I'll make you cry. He smiled slightly. What a strange roommate. Yan Xiaoling rubbed her face and quickly turned her thoughts away. How annoying. I didn't even see Lu Qing. Not bad, practice makes perfect. Beside Weishui Lake, Geyser crossed his arms and watched his silly disciple use Zhurong force. Lu Qing put away his stance and smiled slightly complacently. Then he made a request. Master, I think I've awakened my supernatural ability for the 2nd time. Chapter 298. The morning heat had yet to set in, and the cool breeze by the lake was refreshing. Geyser was amused by Lu Qing's request. I knew you couldn't hold back. You haven't even learned the martial arts of dance stage, and you're already thinking about awakening your supernatural ability. Go ahead and do it. I'll be watching over you. Nothing will go wrong. Lu Qing chuckled and didn't talk back to his master. After the White World incident, he had full confidence in his master's strength. He had already analyzed the pros and cons of which supernatural ability he should improve first, and made up his mind. The supernatural ability of frost. He chose the lesser of the 2 evils. The human body's ability to withstand cold was obviously stronger than its resistance to burning fire. This time, What came out of squeezing the Jindan wasn't necessarily something like hot current or cold tide. It was highly likely that they would materialize. Lu Qing calmed down and walked to the lakeside to avoid accidentally causing a fire. He first adjusted his fascia, muscles, and internal organs to create a burning sensation caused by the prairie fire picture. The power of flame in his body grew stronger and turned from a current to a tide. Then he visualized Zhurong, who had an animal head and a human body, and stepped on a red dragon. He turned the suppressive and tyrannical charm of the commander of flames into physical and mental changes, and controlled the flame that was about to fly away. Bang! Bang! He swung his fists left and right, continuously bombarding the air in front of him with his fists, creating waves of crimson flames. From afar, it looked like fireworks. Geysershire stood at the side, holding a silver wine pot, leisurely enjoying the new batch of filial gifts brought by his foolish disciple. After countless punches, the air in the air was so hot that it could distort the light and make the surrounding mist look like a dream. Lu Cheng's power of flame had reached its limit and was almost exhausted. He didn't hesitate and repeated the previous process with a firm will. He twisted his waist and swung his arms, visualized Zhurong, and threw a blast punch forward. Bang! As the airflow dispersed, the Jindan in Lu Cheng's body was affected. First, it expanded outward, making its nebula dazzling. Then it quickly shrank, shaking out several layers of grandsuns on the outside, turning them into flying meteors. Following the force, they rushed outward. With a boom, the surface of the lake surged, and a pillar of fire shot up a few meters high. The surroundings were filled with white smoke, as if it was real. Geysershire's mouth was half open. He even forgot to tilt the wine pot beside him. Was this still the performance of a 7th grade or 8th grade supernatural ability? Even an inhuman-level fire force wouldn't be this powerful. The pillars of fire quickly scattered, turning into waves that covered the surface of the lake by the shore, making it seem like it was draped in a red kasaya. After a full 5 seconds, everything returned to normal. On the long bridge, several students who happened to be studying in the teaching area rubbed their eyes and gave up the idea of calling the fire alarm. They suspected that they were hallucinating. At this time, the golden core rotated in a balanced manner, throwing out the excess ice crystals. They disintegrated into cold and were released into the host's body. Lu Qing immediately lost consciousness. Everything was dark and silent. It was not until a warm current poured into his head from the top of his head, protecting his brain and heart, that he slowly recovered from the feeling of his mind being frozen. He heard the violent beating of his heart and the splashing sound of his blood flowing like a river. He experienced the natural change of ice floating on the surface of the water and gradually melting. A few dozen seconds later, his qi and blood surged, alleviating the coldness and nurturing vitality, reviving all things. T. Lu Cheng's teeth chattered and he shivered. He saw his master withdraw his left hand from his head. Geysershire frowned and said, "Fortunately, you didn't try it yourself. You can awaken the power of blaze next month." Lu Qing nodded while trembling. He had no objection to his master's words. If it wasn't for the old man's help just now, he would most likely have suffered severe frostbite that affected his internal organs. Even if he didn't die, his body would have collapsed. The backlash from the Jindan this time was several times more severe than he had expected. Fortunately, he didn't force himself, and when his body adapted to the frost and improved its strength, it would be much safer to awaken the power of blaze next month. As for the third awakening, I think the thing in your body will collapse by itself. I'm afraid the backlash will be terrible. You haven't reached the physical invulnerability stage, so don't try it. Geysershire reminded him. Then he smiled and said, "Do you want to drink some wine to warm yourself up? Hey, didn't you quit drinking?" "No, I have hot water." Lu Cheng regained the ability to speak. "I know. Yin girl has been waiting over there." Geysershire clicked his tongue and put away the wine jug. He put his hands behind his back and walked to the long bridge. This kid's supernatural ability awakening process is a bit strange. I still don't know enough about cultivation. I have to ask them to get me some information as soon as possible. When he left, he deliberately coughed twice to remind the girl in the woods. Yenjika's face turned red because of his teasing. She walked out with a down jacket and a thermos. She approached Lu Cheng and helped him put on his clothes. Then she asked with concern, "Are you okay?" She knew Lu Cheng was going to try to awaken the power of frost today. Although she knew Coach Sure would be there and nothing would happen, she was still worried and couldn't calm down. In the end, she chose to be prepared and wait nearby. "Fortunately, my master is here." Lu Cheng didn't directly mention the danger just now. He took the thermos from the girl and couldn't wait to take a sip. He felt the warmth flowing down his throat and rippling. It was indescribably comfortable. Yenjika breathed a sigh of relief and glanced at her boyfriend. "Why are you in such a hurry to awaken your supernatural ability? Your martial arts progress hasn't slowed down." That being said, she could guess what was on Lu Cheng's mind. He awakened his supernatural ability so that he could catch up with Peng Liyun faster. Otherwise, when Peng Liyun stepped into the inhuman stage, it would be even more difficult for him to defeat him in college. "You should know why I'm in such a hurry to awaken my supernatural ability." Lu Cheng answered with a smile and took another sip of hot water. Yenjika pursed her lips and stared at him. She smiled first and warmly changed the topic. "After this awakening, how much has your power of frost improved?" "My body hasn't recovered yet, so I don't know. I guess that even if I don't use the frost force, I can hurt people with my supernatural ability, but the effect may not be so good." Lu Cheng completely recovered and moved his hands and feet. Yenjika pecked his head and suddenly smiled. "Yen Xiaoling has been to the martial arts club." "What?" Lu Cheng was confused. "That Eternal Nightfall, the moderator of your forum. She posted a live post about her experience in the martial arts club." Yenjika looked at her boyfriend with a smile. Lu Cheng didn't know why he was a little scared by her smile. He hurriedly said, "Idols have to keep a distance from fans, or they will find all kinds of bad things about them. Then fans will change their minds and turn against them." "What are you talking about? I didn't mention anything." Yenjika blinked and looked innocent, but the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. Lu Cheng quickly changed to a serious face. "I'm just explaining my views and principles. By the way, Ku, are you going to participate in the amateur ranking event in the middle of this month?" Yenjika didn't continue the previous topic. She looked up and shook her head. "No, Humph. I've been praised by you so often that I've become a little arrogant. I think the ranking event of amateur first pin should be easy and not difficult at all. It can't be used for actual combat practice, so I'm not going to participate. I think I'm going to sign up for the ranking event of professional 9th pin at the end of October. It may be difficult," Lu Cheng said truthfully. After the initiation of the internal training method, Ku's physical quality improved rapidly. Coupled with the family inheritance of her martial arts, her comprehensive strength had indeed surpassed the level of amateur first pin. But to get the professional 9th pin, she was still a little bit lacking. After a few months, she would be more stable after she mastered the meteor force. "I know. I didn't expect to get the certificate this time. I'm just going to fight against masters and gain experience," Yenjika said with bright eyes and high spirits. She was full of enthusiasm for martial arts. "Okay. Find a chance to compete this month and beat 2 fighters of amateur first pin. Otherwise, you won't be able to sign up." Lu Cheng gathered his clothes and drank the hot water. He held the girl's hand and walked to the long bridge with a smile. His steps were a little light. "I'll book the hotel and make sure you're ready for the professional 9th pin competition." Hearing this, Yenjika couldn't help but think of the previous experience. That touching, warm and somewhat charming scene. She subconsciously turned her head to the side and spat. She didn't say anything. She believed that idiot Chung could control himself and wouldn't affect her state of mind in the competition. As for after the competition, Humph, it depends on his performance. Lu Cheng noticed the girl's attitude and felt happy and full of expectations. After school started, the two of them could stick to each other every day again, but correspondingly, they would lose their private space. Lu Cheng respected the girl and would not cross the line. Since he was a little greedy, he could only hope for similar opportunities. Alas, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Following this topic, Yenjika asked curiously when they stepped on the long bridge. Chung, are you going to participate in the 7th pin competition at the end of October? This was the ranking event of the district, not held in Songcheng. Probably not. Lu Qing didn't hide his intention. Why not? Yenjika was quite surprised. In her opinion, with her boyfriend's cultivation speed, his strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds in the 2 months before the end of October after he obtained the Dan stage cultivation method and the corresponding martial arts. Coupled with the second awakening of his supernatural ability, it was very likely that he would get the 7th pin certificate. There was no need to wait until April next year. This was her confidence in Lu Qing. I want to give Peng Liyun a surprise. Lu Qing exhaled and shared his truest thoughts. Once he participated in the ranking event at the end of October and the beginning of November, he would reveal most of his strength. At worst, he could directly sign up for the 6th pin competition next time. Anyway, his record was enough. If it were not his little fairy but someone else, they would definitely laugh at his naivety. Give Peng Liyun a surprise? Yenjika looked up again. You want to leave a shadow of failure in the division competition? Yes, but I can't do it by myself. I have to join hands with your cousin. Lu Qing looked forward and took off his down jacket. His body was very weak, but he walked steadily. Peng Liyun is very likely to stay at the 6th pin level before the winter vacation. This is our chance. By then, I will improve in all aspects and at least reach the top 7th pin level. Your cousin won't be too slow either. I guess he will be at the 7th pin level. With the two of us taking turns to fight, we have a chance to defeat Peng Liyun, who has been going smoothly since entering university. We can suppress his will, affect his confidence in winning, and delay his breakthrough to the inhuman level. Only in this way, we won't face the monster who can defeat everyone in the nationals next April. We can keep our hope. Hearing this, Yenjika turned her head to look at Lu Qing beside her. Looking at his chiseled profile and his eyes that were staring straight ahead, she was a little absent-minded for a moment. After a few seconds, she smiled faintly and said, "Didn't you say you don't care about the topic of the heavenly sons of China?" Lu Qing snorted and answered generously, "Which martial artist isn't competitive? I'm also a martial artist. I don't care and I'm not blindly arrogant, but it doesn't mean I'm competing to prove Peng Liyun's talent." Chapter 299. Lu Qing was driven back to his dormitory by Yenjika, who told him to have a good rest and try to recover as soon as possible. He sniffed and opened the door. To his surprise, he saw old Qiu Zhigao still in the dormitory. "You didn't go to study?" Lu Qing asked in surprise, putting down his down jacket and thermos cup. Did the sun rise from the west today? Wasn't old Qiu's catchphrase, "A day's work begins in the morning"? Qiu Zhigao kept moving the mouse in front of the computer screen, and said without turning his head, "Grab something." "What are you grabbing?" Lu Qing laughed and opened the wardrobe. He folded the down jacket and put it in a corner. Mo Jingting's concert tickets. Start at 9:30 sharp. Qiu Zhigao stared at the screen. He had been thinking about finding a girlfriend since he entered university. But the one he liked didn't like him, and the one who liked him didn't like him. So he could only stay single and focus on studying and idols. Mo Jingting? Lu Qing curled his lips and said, "Where is the concert?" After returning to Xing province from Moshang, this martial niece had not contacted him much. She only sent him a message once in a while to show her presence. This was indeed a good thing for him. A person's energy was limited. How could he have time to deal with other girls? Songcheng. Don't you know? She just announced a few days ago that she will hold a concert in Songcheng in November. You can't miss it. Old Qiu said excitedly. It's starting. Songcheng. Lu Qing's brows furrowed, but soon relaxed. It didn't matter. The university martial arts competition would start in November. Based on the school's previous record, most of the matches would be away games. They would hardly be in Songcheng on weekends. This was the mode of avoiding harassment. According to his master, he and Lin Kei would take turns to control the field in the first stage of the division competition to train the substitutes. Yeah. Why else would I grab the tickets? What a good opportunity. Old Chiu said and suddenly felt sad and angry. That bastard bought the tickets at a high price. If you didn't grab the tickets, would you buy them? Lu Qing asked with a smile. He summoned his remaining courage to lie down on the bed and let himself fall into the soft quilt. Old Chiu gritted his teeth for a while. Buy? Save some money. True love. Lu Qing praised inwardly. Old Chiu's family background was similar to his before he started practicing martial arts. His family background was average. As a student, he focused on self-study and had no source of income. He was supported by the living expenses provided by his family. This was saving from the rations. In order not to disturb Old Chiu, he didn't say anything more. He took out his phone, unlocked it, and saw that Yan Zheka had sent a photo of her cleaning in the dormitory. A smile unconsciously appeared on his face as he typed a few words of praise for his little fairy. While the girl was too busy to reply to his message, Lu Qing leisurely opened the forum and entered the Longhu Club. He browsed the news of the top professional competitions and the mighty ones with titles such as the Dragon King. As a martial artist whose goal was to attain physical invulnerability, he wasn't just interested in these things. It was also closely related to him. As for his own fan forum, there were very few people at the moment, and almost no one paid attention to things that were not related to him, so it was difficult to obtain similar information. God, please tell me which one of these two houses is better. This was the first post that Lu Qing saw. He couldn't help but think of his mother. It had been almost a month since she said that she wanted to buy a house, but she still hadn't made a decision. She even expanded the range of options, no longer limited to the original neighborhood. So troublesome. Fortunately, I have already transferred 400,000 yuan to her. Lu Qing criticized his mother silently and thought of his own savings. Since his personal coaching fee had increased to 3,000 yuan per hour, the previously enthusiastic crowd had become realistic and lost their enthusiasm. He had only earned a little more than 40,000 yuan in this area. Including the remaining 20,000 yuan from the part-time job and the original balance, after deducting all expenses, he still had more than 290,000 yuan left. He didn't have to worry about money for now. He browsed the post just now and wrote down the valuable replies. He planned to teach his mother over the phone tonight. He exited the post and scrolled down. He saw a popular post from Unparalleled Dragon King. The battle of the heavenly sons of the age is about to begin. Lu Qing versus Peng Liyun. There are still 2 months before the opening of the university martial arts competition, and at least 3 months before the battle with Shanbei. Someone is already paying attention to this matter, and it has become a hot topic in the Longhu Club forum. Lu Qing took a deep breath. At this moment, Old Chiu jumped up and cheered loudly. I got it! I got it! In the male dormitory of Shanbei University, Su Wanyan, the president of the martial arts club, stood downstairs, looking at his phone and browsing the Battle of the Heavenly Sons of the Age, forwarded by others. I'm looking forward to it. He sighed with great interest and then called Peng Liyun. Junior brother Peng, come down quickly. We're going to gather for training. We're all waiting for you. Okay. Peng Liyun said concisely. As soon as he finished his words, Su Wanyan saw a figure jump out of the window of a dormitory on the 5th floor. Not again. Su Wanyan covered his face and sighed. The freshmen screamed one after another. He jumped off the building. He jumped off the building. Someone jumped off the building. In midair, the figure suddenly expanded like a rock spreading its wings. It glided forward in a small margin. Then he landed firmly on the ground, which seemed to shake the surroundings. Let's go. Peng Liyun jumped to Su Wanyan's side and greeted him with a smile. Su Wanyan looked at the place where Peng Liyun had landed and found no obvious traces. He couldn't help but be shocked and worship junior brother Peng's strength again. He's getting stronger and stronger. The freshmen were silent as if they had seen a monster. At this moment, the dormitory manager rushed out of the door and shouted, Peng Liyun, why didn't you take the stairs again? What if you scared the others? Peng Liyun shrunk his shoulders and didn't show a cold expression. He just smiled and said, I was thinking about a problem. It was a difficult problem, so I took a shortcut. Shortcut? The freshmen around all opened their mouths wide. Su Wanyan held back his laughter and apologized to the dormitory manager. "I'll take care of him," he said as he pulled Peng Liyun away from the crime scene. "What do you think of this post?" Since it was a daily thing, he didn't mention what had just happened and handed his phone to Peng Liyun. Peng Liyun read it and laughed in a low voice. "It's very interesting. Just don't run into Lu Cheng." "Yeah, I'm worried when I think of my supernatural ability being restrained by him." Fortunately, Xiaofeng's body has also become a big Dan. Su Wanyan sighed. After the supernatural ability of Corvine Mouth became stronger, he had a certain chance of winning against professional 8th pin, or even professional 7th pin. But if his supernatural ability lost its effect, his body as a top professional 9th pin fighter would definitely be no match for a mighty one of Dan's stage. He couldn't help gossiping. "Junior brother Peng, when will you reach the inhuman level? I heard that Runli is about to reach professional 6th pin, and Lu Cheng is catching up very quickly." The competition for the champion of this year's martial arts competition was extremely fierce, but as long as junior brother Peng could reach high pin, everything would become simple again. As for whether Runli and Lu Cheng would reach the inhuman level in the next competition, it was not a problem for him to consider. "I've already graduated." Peng Liyun's face was clean and his eyes were clear. He looked at the clouds in the sky and said, "When will it be?" His eyes gradually lost focus and his movements became sloppy, as if he was moving forward by instinct. But he could accurately avoid obstacles like trees, small stones, and frolicking students. Junior brother Peng is in a daze again, and he has evolved to be in a daze while walking. Su Wanyan sighed helplessly and stopped thinking about the martial arts competition. He shifted his thoughts to the gathering area of the nightclubs in Pingjiang City, and the girls with different characteristics. He pulled his collar, feeling a little hot. In the only university campus in Jiang City, Chu Hui, wearing a white shirt, floated 30 centimeters above the ground in the office of the martial arts club. He looked at the members in front of him and said with a faint smile, "What do you think? What do you think of the discussion?" The leading members and substitutes of the martial arts club were all silent, lowering their heads as if they had done something wrong. They didn't dare to speak. "Luo Hei's you first." Chu Hui, who was also the coach of the martial arts club, had the authority to look down on others. Luo Hei's was tall and looked honest. The childishness on his face had disappeared. He touched Bangguang's head and said, "Those animals of Songqing University are growing too fast. Last year they were just walk-ons, but this year they have 2 Dan stage fighters, and Lu Cheng is close to professional 7th pin." It was like a dream. In the martial arts circle of universities, there were indeed geniuses and strong fighters, but the number and foundation were not enough. Dan stage fighters were rare in most schools. After all, this was the real beginning of martial arts. In a strong school like Jiang City, none of the professional 9th pin fighters in the first few years had reached Big Dan and Qi by the time they graduated. This showed how difficult it was to reach Dan's stage. But Songqing University Martial Arts Club had 2 Dan stage fighters in less than a year. Wasn't this bullying? This is other people's talent. You can't be envious. Chu Hui crossed his arms and said insincerely. Then he put on a serious face and said, "Hey eyes, you're actually very talented. Even if you can't reach the inhuman level like Peng Liyun, Runli, Lu Cheng, and Lin Kei, you should at least reach Dan's stage now. But look at yourself. What the hell are you doing? You should stay away from those bad friends." Yes. Luo Hei's lowered his head. Being too shy to refuse people was his biggest flaw. After scolding Luo Hei's, Chu Hui looked at another member and frowned. "Take it easy. You're also a person who has a chance to reach Dan's stage. Don't you want to go further before graduation? You'll live a good life in the future." Yin Xiangxi smiled bitterly and said, "We've known each other for more than 3 years. Don't you know my character?" His fighting style was aggressive. He would never defend unless he had no other choice. Even if the referee stopped him in time, he had been injured several times in the past few years. His martial arts practice lacked continuity, and his talent was gradually depleted. Both of them were troublesome. Chu Hui didn't say more. He stared at the phone on the desk like an eagle. When discussing the division, They only mentioned Shanbei and Songqing University, Penglian, Fangzhirong Lucheng, and Lin Quebec. They completely ignored Sanjiang School. They completely ignored Chu Hui's existence. Sorry, I've also reached Dan stage and my supernatural ability has improved. Shanbei Songqing University, wait for my surprise. Chapter 300. 3 days later, when the freshmen started their military training, Lu Cheng, who had completely recovered from the backfire, stood by the Weishui Lake and looked at his master eagerly, waiting for him to teach him something about Dan stage. In the last 2 morning exercises, he had focused on recovery cultivation. Gieser paced a few steps with his hands behind his back and laughed. Not bad, you didn't open your mouth until now. As for the training of Dan stage, we all have a consensus that it is a link between the past and the future. How should I say this? First, from the concealment of spirit and qi, to the direct transformation of spirit and qi, to promote the gradual integration of spirit and qi with qi, blood and force, to prepare for the external connection between heaven and earth. Second, to break the limit of the body, to constantly exceed the normal quality, to inner training of root pulp, to achieve miraculous results. Third, on this basis, speed, coordination, control and reaction will be greatly improved, and you will be able to combine the basic force techniques and corresponding punches and feet into moves. Turn it into a move. Lu Qing asked in confusion. Don't I usually use moves? Gieser took out a small flagon, took a sip, smacked his lips and said, think about it, whether it's 24 blizzard strikes or thunder roars in, there's nothing fancy about the punches and feet, isn't there? It's mainly about the force techniques, the method of borrowing force, and corresponding visualization. It's just the most basic movements such as collapse, cannon, chop, whip, rush, punch, and so on. But in a fight, I will also combine them according to the situation. Don't these count as moves? Lu Qing vaguely understood his master's meaning. Yes, these are the basic moves. Why else would the fighting style of Dan stage be a link between the past and the future? Gieser answered proudly. However, the moves of the Dan stage are the result of continuous improvement and refinement by generations of seniors. It's definitely better and more reasonable than your purely improvisational performance. The follow-up moves are all full of killing intent. Of course, you can't stick to the moves of your predecessors. No matter how strong they are, they still have to be used in actual combat. When you master them, you will be able to use them according to the situation at hand, and combine them at will. You will be considered a master in this aspect. Lu Qing asked blankly. Then what's the difference with me now? Both are specific responses to specific situations, and can be combined at will. Of course it's different. It's just like how you read books. One of you knows nothing, so you just sit there and let your imagination run wild, winning by slapping your head. The other one has comprehended the knowledge of his predecessors, and then started to think about his own things. Even if you happen to be involved in the same topic, it's still not the same. Gieser replied grumpily. The difference between a scientist and a civilian scientist. Lu Qing suddenly understood. Is this the 3 realms of seeing a mountain as a mountain, seeing a mountain as not a mountain, seeing a mountain as still a mountain? You're right. Gieser coughed twice. I'll start with visualization. You've already been exposed to the Dan stage, so it shouldn't be too difficult to master it. In terms of mental cultivation, you need to develop from the condensation stance to the ice mirror. It doesn't matter if you haven't learned the basics of the ice mirror yet. You just need to slowly integrate what you know into the condensation stance. Master, I'm almost at the beginner level of ice mirror. Lu Qing happily reported his progress. After the initial integration of mental, qi, blood, and force, and with the foundation of meditation, he had gradually found the feeling of practicing the ice mirror. Although it wasn't rapid progress, it seemed that he was about to reach the threshold. At most half a year, at least 2 or 3 months, there was hope for him to learn the basics. That's not what I want to hear. Gieser glared at him. When you learn the basics of the ice mirror, your mental cultivation will focus on it. You can use it until you're close to the physical invulnerability. As for the internal training of the body, Hey, you've also learned the frozen ground map and the frozen river map. They're the contents before the inhuman level. Isn't this the frost force? Lu Qing was confused. Geyser smiled proudly. The external force is the frost force, and the internal force is the body training method. Why else would it be called the core force of the ice sect? I didn't tell you before because your body isn't strong enough to withstand the internal force. Once you train, you'll be injured and destroyed. This is also why from the dance stage onwards, the martial arts practitioner's practice must be fixed. They must distinguish between the primary and the secondary. Force is the training method, which will affect the root pulp and change your body. If they're mixed and have conflicting natures, then the genes will collapse. Geyser, who was often in contact with military research, came up with a fashionable term. So it's like this. Lu Qing said thoughtfully. Master, I'm based on the balance of ice and fire. How can I prevent them from conflicting and causing problems with the root pulp? I don't have experience in this. Geyser's answer scared Lu Qing so much that he almost shivered. It's because you had to awaken the two supernatural abilities of ice and fire, and mix them with the things of cultivation. Before Lu Qing asked again, he smiled and said, But it's not a problem. Your root pulp has changed long ago. Otherwise, how can you have supernatural abilities? Moreover, your supernatural abilities of ice and fire are under the influence of Longhu Immortal's relics and your Dan equilibrium. Haven't they been peaceful and without conflict? This shows that the foundation has been mixed and your body has adapted. As long as the difference between the two isn't to the extent that you lose control, your genes won't collapse. That scared me. Lu Qing wiped the non-existent cold sweat. Master, so I have to follow the fire attribute martial arts in the future? Yes, it's the same when you reach the physical invulnerability stage. Geyser nodded leisurely. Lu Qing was curious. Then what's the physical invulnerability force that corresponds to Zhu Rong force? How do I get it? Fire force, Emperor Yen force. Geyser answered with a smile. Emperor Yen force. Why does it sound so familiar? Lu Qing blurted out. It'd be strange if it didn't. It's the Dragon King's specialty. Geyser coughed twice, straightened his body and put his hands behind his back. Oh right. Lu Qing unconsciously spoke like Yenjika. When two people have been together for a long time, they would always influence each other in some aspects. After saying that, he realized something and asked in astonishment. This is the martial arts of the fire sect? The fire sect. The divine kung fu of the fire sect in the 5-sect unique skills of Taoism. It was different from the ice sect unique skill of the ice sect. It was called the fire sect itself. Yes, I've wasted a lot of my reputation and favors. Geyser nodded proudly, satisfied with his silly disciple's reaction. Lu Qing was touched, but he knew that his master didn't want to hear words of gratitude. So he played along and said, Master, you're so awesome. You can even get the martial arts of the fire sect. Master's face is a little old. Cough, it's still worth a lot. Geyser coughed happily and added. And some people think highly of you, maybe they... What? Lu Qing asked. Nothing, just a casual remark. Geyser said carelessly. Let's continue with what we just said. The internal withdrawal is the reverse. First, we'll use the frozen river diagram, then the frozen ground diagram to influence the body. We'll practice more subtle things and gradually interfere with the root pulp. When we reach the inhuman level, we'll be able to change it little by little. He explained the inner practice of the Dan stage in detail, and laid out the differences between the frost force and the Zhu Rong force. He gave a thorough explanation so that his disciple wouldn't make a mistake. After Lu Qing tried a few times and confirmed that there were no problems, he continued to explain. There are two kinds of martial arts in the Dan stage. One is the combination of martial arts that I just mentioned. The other is close to physical invulnerability. When the force can be transformed into a substance and released from the body, it's the rough application of the force. Your supernatural ability is similar to this state. You can practice it in advance, although it won't be as powerful. You can practice 3 martial arts in the next few months. Geyser's face suddenly became serious. Lu Qing held his breath and waited for his master to announce the 3 martial arts. Gizershur cleared his throat and said, "The 13th move of the ice sect, vast snow. The 19th move, cold bite. The 26th move, ice burning." Hearing his master's words, Lu Qing was excited and had an inexplicable feeling at the same time. This is the treatment of a disciple of a big sect. From this step onwards, even if he lost the Jindan, he would be able to shake off his previous opponents, such as Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei. With this blessing and gratitude, Lu Qing was very focused on practicing. Unknowingly, he heard his master say, "Well, you can practice by yourself for a while. Remember, the special training officially starts today. Don't be late." Lu Qing thought of something and stopped being arrogant. "Master, have you prepared the internal training method for the martial arts club?" He Ku and brother-in-law had it, but the others didn't. "I'm still thinking about it." Gizershur took a sip of wine. Lu Qing smiled. "Master, you don't have to worry about it. I've prepared one for everyone." "Where did you get it?" Gizershur looked at his disciple from head to toe. "Didn't I go to Xioshan to guide the special training? When I left, the chairman wanted to give me a reward. I thought that everyone still needs the internal training method, so I suggested using their special training method instead. Although it's not very good, it's enough." Lu Qing explained with a smile. And this method could not only be used on his teammates in the martial arts club, but also on his friends and family. If they really wanted to follow this path but couldn't enter the Ice God sect, he wouldn't have to worry about not having something to teach them. Gizershur snorted. "With your little contribution, you can exchange it for the internal training method? You only teach for 1 day a week." I also felt embarrassed and thought that I might ask for more money. In the end, Chairman Wei agreed immediately. "He's a good person." Lu Qing praised. "He's a good person. Anyway, the internal training method doesn't belong to his family. It's a good deal to use the foundation's things to make friends with a potential master like you," Gizershur said with a smile. Lu Qing laughed dryly and didn't answer. Ku had already analyzed this for him. "Then give me the diagram of the internal training method later." Gizershur turned around. "I didn't expect you to care so much about the martial arts club. The internal training method at this level didn't touch on the essence and charm." Lu Qing smiled and said, "We have a weak foundation. If we want to catch up with the strong martial arts schools, we have to make good use of everyone." "You're so ambitious," Gizershur scolded jokingly. "Hey, master, don't tell them the internal training method was provided by you. I'm afraid they'll feel uncomfortable when they see me in the future," Lu Qing requested. "Yo, you're doing a good deed without leaving your name? Okay, that's it." Gizershur waved his hand and walked to the long bridge. "This is a kind of state," Lu Qing complained and turned back to train his strength. Chapter 301. After breakfast, Lu Qing took Yenjika's hand and walked to the martial arts arena happily, preparing for the first special training of the new semester. Feeling the strange gazes of the passing students, he couldn't help but sigh secretly. "I haven't shown my love like this for a long time. It's so different to be able to date openly in school." "What are you laughing at?" Yenjika slightly raised her eyebrows and glanced at him in confusion. Lu Qing laughed and said, "I'm proud to have a little fairy." Ugh. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh, feeling that Chung was really a hidden joker. The more time she spent with him, the more she felt this. Her mood improved again. Well, the sky was blue and the wind was clear. While talking and laughing, they arrived at the arena and walked through the gate. They saw several figures that shouldn't be here at this time. The leader was wearing a white shirt, a light gray suit, and a skirt. She had a slim figure and an outstanding appearance. Her short hair was just right, refreshing and pretty. She was Xu Rui, the reporter of Songqing TV station who had interviewed the martial arts club several times. Beside her, a small team was busy preparing for the shooting. Lu Qing and Yenjika looked at each other and saw the doubt in each other's eyes. Then they tacitly unclasped their hands to avoid being caught by the camera. "Hi, Lu Qing." Xu Rui looked around and found an acquaintance. She immediately waved and greeted him happily. "Reporter Xu, you're here for an interview so early?" Lu Qing walked over curiously and asked. Yenjika followed him obediently with her hands behind her back and pricked up her ears. Xu Rui showed her dimples and said with a smile, "It's not an interview. It's a program recording." "A program recording?" Lu Qing blurted out in surprise. "What kind of program is there to record?" Xu Rui showed her 8 teeth and said, "You and Lin Ke have become the top group in the whole university martial arts circle. Songqing University Martial Arts Club will definitely advance in the division, and even have the hope to enter the Final Four. You're the focus of everyone's attention. Haha, let me say good luck first. As the TV station of Songqing, how can we miss this focus? The leader has approved me to do a special program." Special. Lu Qing pondered over the word. Yenjika was also confused. Xu Rui chuckled. "It's a documentary-type program. From now until April next year, I'll come here every few days to film something. I'll record your special training, practice, preparation, warm-ups, competitions, as well as your daily life. I'll show you your true selves from all aspects. When the time comes, I'll use this as material to make a special topic for you to participate in the national competition." Such a program. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, "It sounds interesting. I've done some research, and many people are interested." Xu Rui replied with a smile, "This program was planned by me, I planned it." Yenjika pursed her lips with a smile and watched quietly. She seemed to have seen reporter Xu's cocky tail. "We'll try our best to cooperate," Lu Qing said politely and pointed to the team. "I'll go over and gather first." "No. Don't worry. It's just a coincidence that we met. Just a few words. Just a few words. Student Yan, you can say something later." Xu Rui pointed the camera at Lu Qing and Yenjika dodged to the side. "All right." Lu Qing was a veteran who had been through hundreds of battles, so he wasn't scared at all. Xu Rui smiled and said, "Be normal. Just like how you greeted me just now. Hey Lu Qing, you're early." "It's late. Reporter Xu, you're all here." Lu Qing made a joke. "You're in a good mood. You feel relaxed and full of motivation. Do you have a goal for this year's National University Martial Arts Competition?" Xu Rui asked with a smile. "A soldier who doesn't want to be a general is not a good driver," Lu Qing answered humorously. "Got it. I won't delay your special training. Bye." Xu Rui waved her hand. "Bye." Lu Qing walked to the team and greeted Kai Zhongming, Li Mao, Guqing, Sun Jian, Lin Hua, Jiang Fuxing, Li Xiaowen, and Wu Meng. Yenjika was stopped by Xu Rui and had to stop. "Student Yan, you're a real beauty. You don't have to worry about going on camera without makeup or Photoshop." Xu Rui conducted the interview with a relaxed attitude. "I'm not worried about that." Yenjika blinked her eyes and answered innocently. Xu Rui smiled and said, "You rarely accept interviews before, so it's inevitable that I have an illusion. I was a substitute at that time. There was no need for me to be in the limelight." Yenjika said naturally. "As a substitute, have you prepared for this year's National University Martial Arts Competition?" Xu Rui went back to the topic. Yenjika's eyes lit up and said, "Yes, but there's still a long way to go. I hope I can be close to the level of a professional ninth pin before the district competition." She wasn't modest or exaggerating. "Wow, that's great. I'm so envious." Xu Rui made a gesture and said, "Student Yan, you can do it." "Thank you." Yenjika bowed politely and walked toward the team with her graceful back. At this moment, Lin Ke walked out of the locker room, looking clean and fresh. Xu Rui signaled the cameraman to follow him and walked up to him with a nervous smile. "Hi, Student Lin Quebec." She hoped he was in a good mood today. "It's you again." Lin Ke glanced at her. What did he mean by again? Xu Rui's mouth twitched. Was he mocking her for being a reporter for more than a year? Was he still interviewing Songqing University Martial Arts Club? But it was rare to be promoted after working for more than a year. Especially when she ignored some of the leader's hints. She curved her lips and said with a fake smile, "Yes, it's me again. I'm just a reporter who has to support my family. I have to follow the leader's orders, so I can only come here obediently. Good luck." Lin Ke replied with 2 words without any expression, and walked past the camera without stopping. "Good luck. who was interviewing who. Xu Rui was stunned for a moment. This guy never played by the rules. A few minutes later, Gizershur arrived and pointed the camera at everyone. We've known each other for almost a year. Let's cut the crap and get to the point. Gizershur drank a mouthful of wine. This semester, we only have one goal, which is to qualify for the University Martial Arts Club division and get a pass to the final round of the competition in the capital in April next year. Then he coughed and glanced at Lu Cheng. And for this goal, I've prepared an internal training method for you. Internal training method? Li Mao blurted out, surprised and happy. Kai Zongming was also stunned. He looked at Lu Cheng and Guoqing with disbelief written all over his face. Internal training methods were priceless. There were only 3 ways to get an internal training method without entering a relevant sect or excellent martial arts school. The first was to participate in professional competitions and get it from the rewards. The second was to make a contribution and get it from the government. The third was to accumulate contribution points and exchange it from the Martial Arts Association. Most of the methods in the market were fake. The government and martial arts circle were suppressing the merchants who could spread the internal training method widely in order to maintain their own interests. In other words, if a martial artist without an inheritance got an internal training method, he could use it to teach his disciples. If he was short of money, he could sell it to anyone. But if he wanted to sell it to 2, 3, or 4 people, he would be warned. It was a continuation of the bad practice of martial arts. From the time Chu Weikai opened his martial arts school until now, he hadn't been able to get an internal training method for so many years. Of course, this was only difficult for ordinary martial artists. After Li Mao succeeded in meditation, he felt that he could really get a professional 9th pin certificate within a year. At that time, he would be in his senior year and would have an advantage in finding a job. Occasionally, he would fantasize about getting an internal training method from the martial arts club. In that case, he might be able to become a professional 9th pin in half a year or a few months. Then he could get a few more methods and open a martial arts school in his small hometown. However, he just thought about it and didn't think it would really happen. But now, in front of his eyes, the internal training method was really in front of him. How could he not be excited? How could he not be ecstatic? He wanted to cheer and shout, "Long live Coach Sher." He was like that, and so was Kai Zongming. Although Talker came from a good family, he didn't have many connections in martial arts. After he succeeded in meditation, he tried to get an internal training method, but he failed miserably. He wanted to talk to Cheng after school started and see if he had any connections. With the internal training method at this age, I might be able to walk the path of martial arts and make my own life. Sun Jian, Lin Hua, Wu Meng, Li Xiaowen and the others were also very happy. Although they didn't succeed in meditation and couldn't practice the most essential part of the internal training method, just the rest of the content could save them a lot of time and effort. For example, Li Xiaowen, who used to only aim at the level of amateur 3rd pin by graduation and get a good certificate, now she could look forward to getting the amateur 1st pin in her 4th year. In this way, her future life might be completely different. What? You don't want it? Gizershur made a joke. Yes. Li Mao, Kai Zongming and the others answered in unison. They were excited and beaming. Seeing their reaction, Lu Cheng and Yanzhika looked at each other and felt a strong sense of achievement and satisfaction. Although they didn't know that the internal training method was provided by them and they thanked their master, why did they feel so happy? Ha 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 ha. Maybe this is the spiritual enjoyment of doing a good deed without leaving a name? Xu Rui watched with great interest and asked the cameraman to record the situation just now. In the following daily training, they recorded a lot of videos and went outside to shoot a lot of environmental materials. Then they came back in and prepared to leave. At this time, Gizershur announced the start of the practice. According to the usual grouping, Lu Cheng found Yanzhika. When he was about to talk about the recording of the program, he saw Lin Kei come over with no expression. He said with gloomy eyes, "Let's learn from each other." There seemed to be 2 flames in the depths of his eyes, flames ignited by a strong desire to fight. Lu Cheng thought that with the arrogance of his brother-in-law, he might take the initiative to learn from him. He was not surprised and answered with a smile, "Okay." Chapter 302. Shu Rui, who was about to retreat, saw the scene and heard the conversation between the two. Her eyes lit up. Breaking news. Breaking news. A direct confrontation between two heavenly sons. Who's stronger and who's weaker on the first day of the special training? Is the competition in Songqing University Martial Arts Club always so exciting? She stopped in her tracks and became excited. Her eyes shone as she signaled to the cameraman to find a better position and grab the golden spot next to the ring. At this moment, Shi turned around and said, "Miss Shu, aren't you leaving?" Shu Rui pretended not to understand what the other party was implying. She pitifully acted cute and said, "Take another picture, take another picture." "That won't do. The competition later involves the secret of our martial arts club's preparation. We have to clear the venue." Shi was well informed and didn't get confused. He smiled and went straight to the point. Shu Rui pretended to be wronged and said, "Coach Shi, we're not outsiders. Not only the local TV station, but we've also interviewed you many times. We'll keep it a secret and won't spread the news. Before the program is broadcast, we'll ask you to go through it and see if there's anything that shouldn't be shown." No. Shi Jiangwo smiled and shook his head. "We'll sign a guarantee." Shu Rui raised her arm. Shi was unmoved. "Go out and leave some suspense for the program. Okay." Feeling the firm will of this mighty one with physical invulnerability, Shu Rui replied dejectedly and led the cameraman out of the door. She walked 3 times in one step and almost stepped all the ants on the ground. Just as she walked out of the stadium, she heard hurried footsteps behind her. She was delighted and thought that Coach Shi had changed his mind. "If you don't forget, there will be an echo." Shu Rui turned her head and saw Kai Zongming. She smiled and said, "New president. Why are you following me?" Kai Zongming looked at her with appreciation and spread his hands helplessly. "Lock the door. Lock the door." Shu Rui stared blankly at him. She watched the door close inch by inch in front of her. She heard a clang and the sound of the lock cylinder being buckled. The wind blew and her hair rose and fell. After a long time, she turned around and greeted the cameraman and the others. She said in a languid tone, "Let's go." "Shu, don't worry about it. This kind of thing is very common. Who would let an outsider film an internal competition? Isn't this leaking military secrets?" The beauty frowned. The cameraman wasn't heartless and couldn't help but comfort her. "I understand." Shu Rui regained her vitality and narrowed her eyes with a smile. "It's just that I don't know if I should say a curse word." Wu Meng and Jiang Fuxing cooperated with Li Xiaowen to invite all the students who were doing fitness exercises in the gymnasium to the strength training gymnasium. They asked them to stay inside for the time being and use the equipment to kill time. They went outside and surrounded the ring, waiting for the start of the competition with great interest. This seemed to have become a tradition in the martial arts club, right? The first day of the special training last term was also the duel between Lin Ke and Lu Cheng. That time, Lin Ke won, but Lu Cheng grew stronger at an incredible speed. He even won the championship of their provincial youth tournament, and was considered to have the strength of a 7th pin fighter. This time, who would be better than him? They didn't think that Lin Ke had a 100% chance of winning. After all, Lin Ke had entered the Dan stage in June. After 3 months of hard work, it was hard for outsiders to predict his current level. Who knew how far he had progressed? Yan Zhika, on the other hand, knew about both sides. She wanted to say something, but in the end, she swallowed the words back into her stomach. This kind of thing should be solved by themselves. This was the purity of a martial artist. No matter how close they were, others shouldn't interfere. Based on her understanding of Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, she was sure that they would go all out in the competition, regardless of other factors. Lu Cheng smiled at his girlfriend and stepped into the ring. He was actually very curious about how much his brother-in-law had improved in the past 2 months. The practice method of the dance stage? The corresponding moves? He seemed to be an official disciple of Shushan's study. It was said that he had the ability to observe the fighting sect. It's a pity that I've only been exposed to similar martial arts since this morning, and haven't had time to make any progress. I've only skipped the most difficult part because I can use my supernatural ability to replace it. I've mastered it pretty quickly. Lu Cheng's thoughts were running wild as he stood on the left side of his master. Showing his strongest side was the only way to show respect to his brother-in-law. Lin Ke was already waiting there. His eyes were indifferent and burning, which was quite contradictory. If it's just a competition, there's no time to talk. Geezer sure coughed. Let's start. As soon as he finished his words, Lin Ke's chi and blood gathered and released. His whole body was like a cannonball, blasting towards his opponent. His speed was so fast that Lu Cheng almost had the illusion that his brother-in-law was breaking the sound barrier. Bang! The explosion of the airflow and Lin Ke's figure almost arrived at the same time. Lu Cheng didn't have time to dodge, nor did he have time to use severe warning. He lowered his center of gravity, gathered all the strength in his body, and expanded his muscles and fascia. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and threw out a right fist from his waist. Let's see which is better, my Dan stage version of 24 Blizzard Strikes or your Dan stage Yin-Yang Twist. Just as the two of them were about to collide into each other and create a car accident, Lin Ke suddenly stopped. A loud grinding sound came from under his feet, and his right arm swelled up. He clenched his fist and punched out. It was so fast that it left afterimages behind. But this punch didn't stop Lu Cheng's attack. Instead, it hit the empty space between them. Boom. With Lin Ke's punch as the starting point, it was like a small bomb had been detonated. The shockwave wrapped in the airflow rushed towards Lu Cheng violently, trying to tear his body apart. Punching like exploding a mountain. The 27th move of the fighting sect, Meteor Burst. Lu Cheng was shocked. He pulled and released his right fist and his left arm bounced up, opening his 5 fingers and blocking the vital part of his face. He swayed back in the wind of the shockwave, cleverly releasing the force to resist. After the first move, Lin Ke made 2 consecutive bursts. He supported himself with his right leg and stepped forward with his left foot, as if plowing the ground. Bang! The ground he stepped on was intact. But under Lu Cheng's feet, the surface of the ring cracked like a volcanic eruption. The fragments turned into hidden weapons and shot up. The 16th move of the fighting sect, ground cracking. Lu Cheng was swaying to resist the shockwave. Suddenly, he lost his center of gravity and was facing many flying fragments that could hurt him. At the critical moment, he bent his thigh and breathed heavily. He first did the Dan concentration to soften his muscles and remove most of the power of the hidden weapons. Then he completed the explosion, expanding his muscles and skin, turning the surface blue and black, and bouncing off the fragments one by one. At this time, Lin Ke wouldn't just watch him defend. He was already close to him, stretching out his right hand and opening his 5 fingers to grab him. Combo attack. In the fighting sect, if one could make 7 consecutive moves, combining long-range and short-range attacks, it would be a famous physical invulnerability move. The 6th move of the fighting sect, Big Dipper main kill. If one could only make 5, 4 or even 3 consecutive moves, it would be a lower move. Of course, this lower move was only relatively speaking. The effect was equally terrible because there were only 9 moves in the physical invulnerability section of the fighting sect. What Lin Ke was using now was the elementary version. The 10th move of the fighting sect, Death End. Seeing his brother-in-law's right hand about to grab him and complete the combo attack, Lu Cheng suddenly exhaled. He lowered his right hand, hooked it and shook it. A glittering and translucent white light landed on the ground and rapidly swam towards Lin Ke, who was pouncing towards him. The 26th move of the ice sect, Ice Burning. Chapter 303. Lu Cheng's crystal-cold light dashed across the ground and instantly hit his opponent. Wherever it passed, it left behind traces of frost, as if it had dragged the autumn into early winter. Lin Ke felt as if he had stepped on a landmine. His left leg was enveloped by a snow-white flame that condensed into a layer of crystal-clear ice. He couldn't help but shiver, and his grasping motion slowed down. Now is the time. Lu Cheng's body swayed and circled to the side of his brother-in-law. His chi, blood, and force were still rushing outwards, propping up his muscles and tendons, making him taller. Bam! His right hand was like a steel whip, whipping downwards with a surge of vibration force. The friction in the air produced a sharp, ear-piercing sound. At this distance, he wasn't worried that Lin Ke would dodge. The scene just now made Li Mao, Sun Jian, and the others stunned. They felt as if they were watching a battle between physical and vulnerability experts. Since when could Cheng release his supernatural ability of frost? When he fought in the provincial youth tournament at the beginning of August, the last 2 matches were so tough, but they didn't see him use this move. In just a month, his supernatural ability had made another breakthrough and completed a new generation? No wonder Coach Sher asked reporter Xu and the others to leave. This was indeed a secret that could give Shanbei a surprise. In the arena, Lin Ke seemed to be still under the influence of ice burning. He subconsciously pulled back the left side of his body in an attempt to dodge. Lu Cheng's single whip hit him directly in the ribs. Crack. His body trembled violently. His bones, muscles, skin, and tendons collapsed and contracted along with his qi, blood, and force. It was as if Lu Cheng had hit empty space. It was extremely uncomfortable, and the vibration from the explosion seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Lin Ke twisted his waist and back, spurting out his big Dan. His muscles bulged one by one, rubbing against the airflow at high speed, creating a sound that converged into a heart-shaking roar. Yin Yang Twist, Dragon Roar. Amidst the roar, Lin Ke used part of his borrowed strength to swing his arms and punch his opponent's lower abdomen within a narrow range. When he was imitating the explosion of the Dan stage, he could still use the meteor force. However, once he completed the real force concentration, he wouldn't be able to do it at the moment. The distance between them was so close that they could hear each other's breathing. Lu Qing knew that if he had been passive once, he would continue to be passive. In a narrow space, courage was the most important thing. Therefore, he clenched his teeth and made 2 consecutive bursts with the will of the brave. His right arm swelled and lifted, and his fist met the attack head-on. Bang! The air billowed and stirred up a strong wind in the arena. Lu Qing shook his torso and swung his right arm back, trying to use the force to launch the mega avalanche. However, he felt that everything was empty and powerless. But Lin Ke's body didn't stop trembling. He swayed and bounced like a puppet, condensing the external force and his own strength. With the power of Mount Tai and the North Sea, he turned his body sideways, inflated his martial arts suit, and turned into a shooting star, quickly and violently crashing into his opponent. This was the combination of the Dan stage version of Yin Yang Twist and force concentration. Double explosion. Woo! With a rip in the wind, Lin Ke turned into an iron mountain, and was about to stick to Lu Cheng. The distance between them was less than a step. Lu Cheng's center of gravity swayed, and he leaned to the side a little. He lowered his body and avoided the sharp edge of the leaning attack. His right leg kicked out, aiming for the opponent's weak point in the lower body. He wanted to take advantage of the situation to make Lin Ke lose his center of gravity and fall down himself. At this moment, Lin Ke's body suddenly stopped, just like at the beginning of the match. He came to a sudden stop. The sound of friction was ear-piercing and the clear traces were frightening. He gathered his strength and stopped right in front of Lu Cheng's right leg. Immediately after, Lin Ke took a step forward and skillfully bypassed the attack. His left arm, which was dragging behind, hammered out from the bottom. From a standstill to a rapid speed. It was so aggressive that it could shatter gold and break stone. He relied on the mysteries of Yin Yang Twist and Meteor Burst to forcefully continue the terror of force concentration and leveraging force until this moment. Facing this, Lu Qing made a decision in an instant. He returned his qi and blood to his dantian. Expressionlessly, he reached down with both hands and opened up the dark blue veins and small muscles. He grabbed Lin Ke's fist with one hand and pushed it down diagonally with the other. Bam! His right hand was hit and flung back. His 5 fingers couldn't stop trembling. Fortunately, there was a push from the side and a hollow palm to divert the force, so he didn't end up with broken bones. Even so, he didn't dare to take it head-on. Following the momentum of the fling, he took 2 steps back. Lin Ke had succeeded in one move. He stomped his feet hard and rushed to Lu Cheng's front faster than he retreated. At this moment, Lu Cheng suddenly sighed and once again used force concentration to return his qi and blood to his dantian, stabilizing his body's center of gravity. His martial arts suit expanded without wind, outlining his muscles. He bounced his left shoulder and shook out his arm. His fist exploded the air and shot towards Lin Kei's chest and abdomen like lightning. Lin Kei blocked the attack with both hands and tried to visualize and adjust his body again, using the yin-yang twist to divert the force. However, without using the dance stage explosion, there was a substantial gap between him and Lu Cheng's attack. He was only able to divert a little of the force and was knocked back. Lu Cheng took a step forward and caught up with him. Thunder roars then combined with continuous explosion and hit him again. Bam! Lin Kei's body trembled violently and his eyes were dizzy. He was frozen in place. Without waiting for his master to announce the result, Lu Cheng withdrew his hand and sighed inwardly. If it weren't for the fact that his brother-in-law's breakthrough to the limit of his body hadn't reached the level of qualitative change, and was still at the level of a normal professional eighth pin in the dance stage, he wouldn't be able to perform more continuous explosion. A normal professional eighth pin in the dance stage could perform double explosion at most. Only Zhou Zhengquan, who practiced martial arts that nourished his body and improved his endurance, could perform triple explosion. Although Qiu Lin and Meng Jiefeng, whom Lu Cheng had met before, were both professional eighth pin, they were more experienced and their physical state was close to that of a professional seventh pin. Even so, Lu Cheng still had a deep impression of Lin Kei's first wave of combo moves. They showed him a very different fighting style from the past. If it wasn't for the breakthrough in his power of frost and the initial mastery of ice burning, which interrupted his brother-in-law's combo, he would most likely have lost. Is this the strength of a dance stage expert with inheritance? His brother-in-law has such a great performance in actual combat after only breaking through 3 months ago. What about Peng Liyun, who was in the dance stage 2 years ago and inherited the unique skills of the Thunder Sect, who was about to get the certificate of sixth pin? This wasn't something that could be understood just by watching videos. If he didn't try it himself, he wouldn't be able to understand it deeply. Thinking of this, Lu Cheng, who had been in the mood since he won the youth tournament, completely disappeared. He had underestimated Peng Liyun before. He collected his thoughts and calmed down. He looked at Lin Kei, who was standing there in a daze and panting. He smiled sincerely and said, "You have to find a way to make up for your weakness in physical strength." He knew that his brother-in-law was arrogant and autistic, so he might as well give him a suggestion directly. Lin Kei calmed down and didn't say anything. He turned around and walked down the stone steps. When he was about to go down, he stopped and nodded slightly. Lu Cheng exhaled and turned his head to look at Yin Zhika. He saw that the girl's expression was complicated, full of emotions and sighs. Lin Kei was her idol since childhood. In late September, the military training ended. Yan Xiaoling took He and Mu Jinyan to the square in a hurry. Today was the day that all the clubs were recruiting new members. They didn't hesitate. They weren't attracted by the cosplay or the advertisement. They went straight to the booth of the martial arts club and saw many students there, almost lining up. "Oh, you came so early, but you still have to wait." Yan Xiaoling rolled her fists under her eyes and pretended to cry. She was already familiar with her roommates. "It's because someone got up late." He spread her hands helplessly. She had changed her style today. She wore a cartoon t-shirt, shorts, sneakers and carried a backpack. Only the round glasses on her face were still the same. "Well, I'm too tired after the military training." Yan Xiaoling stood in line and saw Kai Zongming, who was hosting the booth. Just as she was thinking whether to go through the back door shamelessly, Mu Jinyan patted her shoulder and pointed in another direction. "Hey, your idol is here." "Ah, idol? Lu Cheng." Yan Xiaoling quickly turned her head and looked over. She saw the figure that she used to see through the screen appear beside the stall to help. He was more elegant in person. He was alive, he was alive. Yan Xiaoling cheered and jumped behind He, turning into a quail in an instant. "What should I do? What should I do? Lu Cheng is there. Didn't you say you would rush to Lu Cheng and ask for his autograph and photo?" He turned back and asked. I'm nervous. I can't even say a word." Yan Xiaoling lowered her head and looked at her toes, peeking at Lu Cheng from time to time. Box, help me ask for it, help me ask for it." He stared at her. "If you didn't recognize me as your father, I wouldn't help you." How many fathers have I recognized? Yan Xiaoling thought of this question inexplicably. Heezy took the paper notebook and pen from Mu Jinyan and ran to Lu Cheng. She smiled and said, "Hello, can I have your autograph?" Lu Cheng had already seen Yan Xiaoling, but in order not to expose his habit of reading the fan forum, he pretended not to recognize her. He nodded and smiled. Okay. He took the notebook and quickly signed his name. Heezy thought for a while and asked again, "Can you write for the quail?" "Sure." Lu Cheng agreed readily to thank Yan Xiaoling for her contribution to the forum. He quickly wrote here, and then froze in place. "What's wrong?" Heezy asked, puzzled. "No, nothing. Let me check my phone." Lu Cheng gave a hollow laugh. "Damn. How do I write for the quail?" Chapter 304. Lu Cheng pretended to be calm, pretending to reply to a message. He typed the word quail on his mobile phone and memorized it in his mind. He wrote it on the tip of his pen, looking very accomplished. Done. He handed the notebook back to Heezy, sweating in his heart. To be honest, he could write the word quail when he was in his senior year of high school. But when he went to college, he got used to the keyboard and often forgot to write. That was the most knowledgeable period of his life. Heezy looked at Lu Cheng suspiciously and thanked him with a smile. She went back to the end of the line, tore off the signature page, and gave it to Yan Xiaoling. "Weak chicken," she said. Yan Xiaoling was overjoyed and said exaggeratedly, "Box, I admire you. I worship you." Her voice was crisp and delicate, like a primary school student talking. Heezy and Mu Jinyan looked at each other and replied with a blank face, "I don't need weak chicken's admiration." Yan Xiaoling was used to being criticized, so she didn't mind. She peeked at Lu Cheng and said worriedly, "Why do I feel that his face is a little pale? Is he sick?" With his current physique, it's hard for him to get sick unless he's injured or affected by the unique skills of the plague sect. Mu Jinyan answered calmly. She was a hardcore fan of Lin Ke and treated Lu Cheng like a passerby. Maybe something went wrong during training or sparring. Heezy's imagination ran wild as she came up with 100,000 scenarios in her mind. With Lu Cheng's current hearing, he could hear the conversation clearly at this distance. He couldn't help but shake his head with a wry smile. If I hadn't awakened the power of Blaze for the second time yesterday, I wouldn't have been sent here to help Little Ming recruit new members because of the backlash and the double prohibition of training by both my master and Coach Yan. Lu Cheng's improvement of his power of frost had slightly changed his root pulp, which further improved his physical quality. He had reached the standard for the second awakening of his power of blaze a few days earlier than Geysershire had expected at the beginning of October. After this awakening, Lu Cheng's strength, speed, and agility would officially catch up with an ordinary professional 7th pin fighter of the Dan stage. As time passed, the line moved. Yan Xiaoling and the other two came to the booth and faced Kai Zhongming and Li Xiaowen. "Oh, it's you guys?" Xiaoming smiled amiably and casually handed over 3 membership forms. Yan Xiaoling was not nervous or shy about him. She giggled and said, "Does joining the martial arts club give me an autograph?" She didn't mention Lu Cheng directly because her idol was nearby. "It's a complimentary gift. Come, I'll sign one for you. Keep it well. It'll be worth a lot of money in the future." Kai Zhongming joked. The atmosphere suddenly became relaxed. Yan Xiaoling picked up the pen and began to fill in the form. In the field of martial arts rank, she felt inferior for 30 seconds and drew a slash. "Every time I had a holiday, I would spend most of my time in bed. How would I have the time and energy to exercise? Not to mention practicing martial arts." After she was done, she looked around curiously to see how her roommates were doing. Box, martial arts level, amateur 2nd pin. Air. Jinyan, martial arts level, amateur 3rd pin. Yan Xiaoling opened her mouth little by little and turned it into an O shape. When did they become so powerful? They were all of amateur 3rd pin. I'm the only weakling, at this moment. A joke flashed through her mind. "Thank you, roommates, for not killing me." Kai Zhongming took back the form and glanced at it. Then he smiled brightly. "Welcome to the martial arts club. When the holiday comes back, we'll have the welcoming party. I'll call you when the time is fixed." Wow, President, you weren't so enthusiastic before. Yan Xiaoling was surprised and joked. Kai Zongming put on a serious face and said seriously, "That's nonsense. Isn't that obvious? I've already confirmed your identities through the form. How can I not treat you well?" "What identity?" Yan Xiaoling looked at He Zi and Mu Jinyan blankly, and found that they were also confused. Is my identity of living for more than 10 years actually fake? Am I the biological daughter of Taobao's father? Kai Zongming laughed. The identity of the successor of the communist cause. Not only Yan Xiaoling and He Zi burst into laughter at the same time, but also other students joined in. This president is so interesting. When the people at the booth were a little less, Kai Zongming slipped to Lu Cheng and said, "Cheng, the quality of this newcomer is good. Do you mean the martial arts level or the appearance?" Lu Cheng looked at Talker suspiciously. "Damn, how can you doubt my chastity? Besides, aren't we the peak of the appearance? There's your girl Lin Kei and me. We're the super platinum generation." Kai Zongming struck a pose and said, "It's only been an hour and I've already found 4 newcomers of amateur third pin. Well, their quality is quite high." Lu Cheng's eyes lit up and he praised with joy. The martial arts club in the university was different from the professional teams. Every year, there would be people graduating, so the quality of the newcomers was very important to maintain the competitiveness. Although Lu Cheng and the others could say, "After I die, I don't care about the flood." Once they graduated, they wouldn't have to worry about the aftermath. However, after a year of fighting side by side and the encouragement of come again next time, they had developed feelings for the martial arts club and the school. They consciously took up the responsibility of passing on their knowledge. Generally speaking, they're actually stronger than our batch. Haha, don't look at me like that. When we just started recruiting, you were still a nobody with no rank, strength and knowledge. Kai Zongming said sarcastically. That's right. In our batch, other than Lin Kei, who is a professional 9th pin fighter, the strongest one in our batch is only of amateur 5th pin. Lu Cheng refused to admit defeat. My brother-in-law can beat 10 people by himself. Kai Zongming didn't answer directly. He thought for a while and said, I think the quality of the next batch of newcomers may be stronger. Think about it, when this batch of newcomers applied, our martial arts club only participated in the division selection and made it to the knockout round. Lin Kei, who is about to reach professional 8th pin and Dan stage, has the appeal. You're just a potential genius with abnormal physical strength. You can only attract so many people. Wait until next year. There will definitely be strong newcomers who will consider our school. Well, good results in the national finals and the provision of the internal training method. Just these 2 points alone will definitely make geniuses choose us. Lu Cheng stood up and moved his body, looking forward to the future. Until now, he still didn't think he was a genius, although others kept saying so. After the long vacation mid-October, the alarm clock rang. Yan Xiaoling woke up from her sleep and struggled to get out of bed. She sat in a daze for a while and finally understood why she woke up so early. This morning was the welcoming day of the martial arts club. She quickly opened He Zi's mosquito net next door and shouted, Box, box, wake up, wake up. When the mosquito net was opened, there was a black cat sitting on the side railing. It had green eyes and a look of disdain. Yan Xiaoling was stunned for a moment and said in shock, I knew there was a cat. Box, you are a cat. There are really monsters in the world. Just as she finished speaking, she suddenly felt that something was wrong. She hurriedly turned her head to look at the door, only to see He Zi standing there after washing up. She looked back at the black cat and felt that she had misunderstood something. Idiot. He Zi's mouth twitched. Haha, I'm kidding. Yan Xiaoling saw the cat jump off the bed and run out of the dormitory. Box, is this your cat? No, we can't have pets in the dormitory. I think it's owned by a teacher in the teacher's dormitory, but it often comes to see me. He Zi's expression softened and her eyes sparkled when she mentioned the cat. How did you know it? Yan Xiaoling climbed down from the bed and asked curiously. He Zi recalled and smiled. It's fate. I was the first one to come to the dormitory, and I didn't know why it ran in. It was trapped behind the cupboard over there, and kept meowing. So I dug and dug and dug. I even wanted to tear the bed apart. And then? You moved the bed and saved it? Yan Xiaoling asked excitedly. Heezy was stunned for a few seconds and smiled embarrassedly. No, it jumped out by itself before I moved it. I spent so much effort and wasted so much time sleeping. Why did I do that? Yan Xiaoling frowned and nodded solemnly. She walked to Heezy and patted her shoulder to comfort her. I think we can be good friends. After washing up, Yan Xiaoling, Heezy, and Mu Jinyan rushed to the martial arts club. They had never seen Chen Yuni, another student in the dormitory. According to the counselor, she seemed to be sick and had taken a leave of absence. She wouldn't come to see them until she was cured. Due to the existence of 2 dance stage fighters and the outstanding performance of the previous semester, the martial arts club had not only recruited many freshmen, but also a group of sophomores and juniors. The stadium was filled with people, and the situation was even better than last year. It's so crowded. Yan Xiaoling looked around excitedly. At this moment, her eyes lit up when she saw Yenjika in a white martial arts suit. Did you see her? That senior is so pretty, even prettier than when I saw her on TV. Yan Xiaoling pointed out to Heezy and Mu Jinyan in surprise. Yes. Heezy glanced at her and nodded. I want to take a picture of her. Yan Xiaoling whispered excitedly. Just then, she saw the fresh and beautiful Yenjika turn her eyes and slowly walk towards her. The closer you are, the prettier you are. Yan Xiaoling said with a smile, but suddenly stopped because she found that Yenjika was walking toward her. Looking for me? What for? In her surprise and anxiety, she saw Yenjika stop in front of her, so she said nervously, Hello, senior sister. What's the matter? Yenjika smiled. Hello, little Changya. Ah, little Changya? Little Changya. Yan Xiaoling was stunned at first, then her mouth opened wide, as if she had turned into a confused cat. She suddenly felt that she didn't know the beautiful senior in front of her. Chapter 305. You know me? Yan Xiaoling came back to herself and stuttered. Even Box and Jinjin don't know that I have the nickname Little Changya on the internet. My QQ username is Uncle Hua. At this moment, 2 thoughts flashed through her mind. My identity that I've been hiding for years is finally exposed. I'll confess everything. Seeing Yan Xiaoling's reaction, Yenjika pursed her lips and held back her laughter. After a while she said, I often lurk in the BBS and have seen many of your posts and photos. I think you're a very cute and interesting girl, so I've been looking for you. She added in her heart, and you're very interesting. Yan Xiaoling was embarrassed by the compliment. I'm not as good as you say. Wait, she must know that I recognize my father and elders, that I'm always self-deprecating, and that I have the nickname of ESH*T moderator, ! I don't want to live anymore. I'll go back to my dormitory and stay there for half a year. Wait, she's a member of the martial arts club. She often lurks in the Luqing forum. She's a pretty girl. Yan Xiaoling was rarely smart. She blurted out, You are. Her voice was so loud that it attracted the attention of the onlookers who didn't know the truth. This woke her up. She lowered her voice and said, Are you on the Luqing's girlfriend account? Otherwise, how could she get the first-hand news of the competition? And she claimed to be a student of Songqing University, a cute girl. Yes, Yenjika answered with a smile. To be honest, it took her a few days to decide to come and greet Yenjika openly. Her boyfriend's female fans were easy to deal with on the internet, but once they appeared in front of her, it would make her feel complicated. Although she often acted rational and mature, she was still a girl who hadn't even passed her 19th birthday. It was inevitable that she would worry and think too much. She even habitually made several plans to deal with different situations. However, after making the plans, she felt funny and decided to make it simple and sunny. She wanted to see if little Changya was as funny as those on the internet. Oh. Yan Xiaoling nodded excitedly. Who would have thought that the martial arts club would have a club member, and a cute girl at that? She was so excited that she couldn't control her mouth and asked curiously, Senior sister, are you really Lu Cheng's girlfriend? Otherwise, how could he have chosen such a username? At first, He and Mu Jinyan were confused by the conversation between the two, and did not know how to interrupt. However, when they heard this question, they immediately focused their eyes and focused their minds. Their bodies and minds were clamoring for gossip. Yes. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled calmly. Based on his and Cheng's habit of shamelessly showing off their affection, as long as little Changya joined the martial arts club and insisted on attending one class every week, it wouldn't take long for her to discover this matter. I think you two are a pair. Yan Xiaoling waved her right hand and said happily. I'm so excited. I'm chatting with Lu Cheng's girlfriend. Humph, they didn't believe in my intuition. I saw that you guessed so. Yenjika showed her dimples and smiled sweetly. She took the opportunity to lead the topic to the interesting things in the forum. She was a girl who paid attention to the details of interpersonal relationships. She was careful not to mention the dark history of eternal nightfall, so as not to embarrass her in front of her roommates. However, she underestimated Yan Xiaoling. How could a person who often made fun of herself control her mouth? When it came to familiar things, she immediately revealed her true colors and revealed a lot of embarrassing things. He and Mu Jinyan were not familiar with Yenjika and did not know about Lu Cheng's fan forum. Normally, it would be difficult for them to join the conversation. However, when Yan Xiaoling began to make fun of herself, they couldn't help but ask for details. They chatted happily. When Yan Xiaoling calmed down and realized that something was wrong, she found that her two roommates were looking at her very strangely, as if they were saying, Yan Xiaoling, I didn't expect you to be like this. Ho, I don't want to live anymore. Yan Xiaoling reached out to cover her face. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed softly. She leaned forward and backward slightly and looked at the time. Little Changya, will you join the special training? Special training? The details of the special training flashed in Yan Xiaoling's mind. Her face turned a little pale. I don't think so. My arms and legs are too small. For hours of training every day, I'd rather just kill myself. I'm such a lazy person that I can only eat one meal a day in order not to get out of bed. How can I join the special training? After saying that, she felt very regretful and lost. If she didn't join the special training, she wouldn't be able to see Lu Cheng's training posture often and get first-hand news. I know. Yenjika opened her mouth silently, pausing after each word, and then said with a smile. How about you come to the martial arts club's office to help out when you're free? You and senior sister Wen are in charge of organizing the on-site cheering. Yan Xiaoling was pleasantly surprised. I don't need the special training, and I can come to the martial arts club often. This is a great thing. Yes. She agreed excitedly. Remember to find senior Xiaowen later. She's that one. Yenjika pointed at Li Xiaowen, who was not far away, and asked Yan Xiaoling to add her QQ. Then I'll go first. Bye, senior Xiaowen. You're so nice. Yan Xiaoling waved excitedly. She and Lu Cheng are a perfect match. Thinking of this, Yan Xiaoling took out her phone and posted a post in the forum with an arrogant emoji. Haha, big gossip. But I won't tell you. I don't want to hear it. Get lost. Brahmin, who was waiting for her live broadcast, answered immediately. Yan Xiaoling didn't feel that she was being scolded. She said with a squirming emoji, Brahmin, I really want to tell you, but Senior Xiaowen is so nice. I have to keep it a secret for her. Ask. I'm such a soft-hearted person. Senior Xiaowen. Is she Lu Cheng's girlfriend? Okamoto's fan had sharp eyes. I didn't say anything. Yan Xiaoling pouted and typed on the keyboard. Really? Is she that pretty member of the martial arts club? Brahmin guessed from the most probable since the target range was so small. How did you get it so quickly? You don't feel any sense of achievement. Yan Xiaoling sent a crying emoji. At this time, Mu Jinyan, who was beside her, asked in confusion. Xiaoling, do you know how to organize a live cheering event? She agreed so quickly. Of course. Yan Xiaoling stuck out her chest. I'm a professional. She could feel that He and Mu Jinyan did not believe her at all. She added weakly, Brotherly, you're right. Fan. Okay, a professional fan. Yenjika walked back to Lu Cheng with light steps. She was thinking about Nightfall's teasing just now with a smile. Why did you go to see Eternal Nightfall? Lu Qing asked nervously, although he didn't know why he was nervous. Can't I? Yenjika tilted her head with a faint smile. Of course. No problem. Lu Qing expressed his opinion first and then said in confusion, I'm just curious. I thought you would stay away, just like me. He didn't forget to praise himself. Yenjika chuckled and glanced at Lu Qing's face. In the beginning, my emotions were quite complicated. Later, I thought it through and felt that it was better to be open-minded. Yes. Little Changye didn't let me down. He is really a very funny and honest child. You're talking as if you're very old. Your 19th birthday is still 2 months away. Lu Qing was relieved and teased his girlfriend. Yenjika bit her lower lip and sighed with emotion. Qing, sometimes I'm confused too. Am I too rational, too polite, and too focused on the details of interpersonal relationships? I want to do my best in everything. This time, when I went back to celebrate my grandfather's birthday, I met many relatives. They would make jokes that I didn't like, and they would also introduce young talents to me, saying that they were preparing me for my university graduation. At that time, I really wanted to leave or tell them that I already had a boyfriend, but I felt that it was stupid and impolite, so I could only smile hypocritically and keep quiet. Sigh, I often want to be self-willed and live a self-centered life. During the holiday a few days ago, the martial arts club only had 3 days off because the special training had just started. What's more, it was old Master Ji's 70th birthday, so Yenjika especially went to attend the party. Lu Cheng's short-distance trip plan was ruined before he could make it. Lu Qing listened to his girlfriend's rare complaint and comforted her in a humorous way. You're self-willed, aren't you? Your family doesn't allow you to date, but you still date me. How do you feel? How does it feel to be free? Yenjika glared at him flirtatiously and bit her lip. She turned her eyes to the side and hummed twice. She deliberately made her voice so weak that it was hard to hear. Not bad. At this time, Kai Zongming walked up to the arena to host today's welcome ceremony as the club president. Lu Qing almost burst into laughter when he saw his appearance. Haha, is this still Talker? He used to laugh at Club President Chen's eyebrows. His hair today is called Insects Don't Fall. Once it falls, it will definitely slide down. Yenjika was also amused. When she was about to join in and make fun of little Ming, she suddenly felt a vibration in her pocket. She took out her phone in confusion and found that Yen Xiaoling had sent her a message with a stammering emoji. Senior sister, let me ask you a question. What kind of person is Lu Qing? Everyone is very curious. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. She recalled the past and considered her words carefully. Gradually, her eyes became unusually soft. She lowered her head and typed on the keyboard with both hands. She couldn't help but smile. Just like how you used to feel. A very warm, considerate, and attentive boy. As for the fact that he is secretly a clown, I won't tell anyone. Time flew by in the midst of hard training. A week before the professional ranking event, the University Martial Arts Club District Lottery ceremony officially started. It was 2 weeks earlier than last year. Everyone in the martial arts club gathered in the office, waiting for the live broadcast to begin. Lu Qing and Lin Ke didn't get the invitation because of their poor performance in the last martial arts club. The school sent a teacher as a representative. Chapter 306. In the office of the martial arts club, not only were the old members like Lu Qing and Lin Ke, but also the new members like He Zi, Mu Jinyan and Wang Dali, who had just undergone special training for 2 weeks. Xu Rui was directing the camera to record their daily life. The weather in late October had turned cold. She didn't wear her business attire when she came here every few days. Instead, she wore a thin and lazy sweater and a knee-length skirt. She looked like a student, and Li Mao, Wang Dali, and the others stole glances at her from time to time. Relax. Don't mind the camera. Just treat us as if we don't exist. Just talk as you usually do. Xu Rui looked around with her bright eyes, looking for something to talk about. No one took her words seriously. who would want to let their bad side be recorded and broadcasted for thousands of people to enjoy. He and the other new members who had never been interviewed quietly moved their seats and found human bodies to block the camera. Only Geezer sure didn't care. He happily drank his wine and chewed his weird-flavored peanuts. As for Lin K, he stood there with his hands in his pockets. His face was as cold as usual, and his lips were tightly pursed. On the computer screen, the guests were still giving their speeches, which made people feel sleepy. Lu Qing leaned back in his chair and took out his phone. He quickly typed on the keyboard and sent a message to Yen Zhika, who was beside him. It's so uncomfortable with cameras around. Yen Zhika had tidied herself up before going out, because she knew in advance that Xu Rui would be there. She put something on her face, wore a cotton skirt, and covered her legs with silk stockings. Under the light, her face was like a painting, bright and youthful. Lu Qing couldn't help but praise her as a fairy. After seeing her boyfriend's action, she took out her phone and read the message. She replied with an emoji of covering its mouth and laughing. Don't you think it's weird? You have to chat face-to-face with your phone. Can't help it. Who asked the reporters to watch us covetously? Lu Qing replied with a pained expression. Can't you just hold it in and not chat with me for a while? Yen Zhika said proudly, but she felt sweet in her heart. Lu Qing replied without hesitation. No. Yen Zhika's eyebrows curved as she sent an emoji of touching the head. Alright, I'll dote on you. Hee, every time you call yourself sister, you are so cute. Lu Qing said with a smirk. Really? Is this the only time you're cute? Yen Zhika asked, sitting obediently and waiting for compliments. Not really. You're even cuter when you call me big pervert, replied Lu Qing. Yen Zhika bit her pink lips and trembled slightly when she saw the message. She tried very hard to hold back her laughter and the urge to stare at her boyfriend, pinch him, and kick him. She gnashed her teeth and typed on the keyboard energetically. I'm going to call the police. Lu Qing unconsciously curled his lips and almost laughed out loud. It took him a lot of effort to control his facial expression and continue to flirt with Ke. In the eyes of Xu Rui and the others, they were just playing with their phones out of boredom. Towards the end of the conversation, Lu Qing thought of something and sent a question mark expression. Ke, isn't it said that after reaching the inhuman level, one's root pulp will gradually change, and the offspring may be born with supernatural abilities? Why didn't your cousin awaken anything? During this time, he had been thinking about how to help his brother-in-law improve his physical fitness. As he thought about it, this question came to him. Ke's grandfather was the Shushan study elder Ji Jianzhang, who had reached the first pin physical invulnerability several decades ago. Her grandmother, Do Ning, was also a physical invulnerability expert and an elder of Shushan study. The offspring of the two should have a higher chance of awakening supernatural abilities. Also, the change in the root pulp of the inhuman stage is very small and unstable. The probability of the offspring inheriting the supernatural ability is very low. Only after they reach the physical invulnerability stage will the probability become realistic. My uncle and aunt were born when my grandfather was in the low Dan stage and the inhuman stage. They didn't inherit the supernatural ability. Or rather, it didn't show up. Only my mother, the youngest daughter, was born after they reached the physical invulnerability stage, and then awakened the supernatural ability. Empress Dowager has supernatural abilities? Lu Qing was shocked. Yen Zhika sent a cheers emoji. Congratulations, you got it right. However, Empress Dowager is careless in her martial arts and supernatural ability training. She doesn't put enough effort into it. Her overall combat strength is only weaker than 8th pin. She added, my aunt was born when my grandparents were still at the inhuman level. Perhaps she inherited some altered root pulp. My brother might have awakened some supernatural ability at any time. Logically speaking, the probability of me awakening a supernatural ability should not be small. But I'm congenitally deficient and haven't shown anything. Lu Qing sent a hug emoji and said, don't be sad. Technology is developing, so is martial arts. Maybe one day your natural deficiency will be cured. You're stealing my words. Yen Zhika scolded. I'm repeating your teachings, Coach Yen. Lu Qing took the opportunity to compliment her. Yenjika put her hands on her hips and shook her head proudly. Then she sent a cover mouth emoji and said, "Actually, I'm not sad about this anymore. I'm used to it. I'm a little glad." "Glad for what?" Lu Qing asked blankly. "Hee hee, I'll tell you next time." Yenjika lowered her eyes and replied softly, "If it weren't for my natural deficiency, my life would have been different. I wouldn't have stayed in Xioshan to study in high school, and I wouldn't have come to study in Songcheng. If that were the case, we wouldn't have known each other, hugged, or kissed. We'd be like passers-by. It's the luckiest thing in my life to be able to meet you in the prime of my life. I'll tell you when we're old and still holding hands." At this time, the guests finished their speeches and the song and dance performance. The mighty one with physical invulnerability for the drawing ceremony walked up the stage. She was the witch Qianhui. She was 27 years old, and had reached physical invulnerability in the first half of the year. She was the main force of the second-level Haiyuan Club. They were very likely to enter the top ranks. The reason why the organizing committee invited this new mighty one as a guest was that she had a close relationship with the university martial arts competition. Before a large number of geniuses such as Peng Liyun and Ren Li entered the martial arts circle, Qianhui was the representative figure of this circle. She was also one of the few cases of people who could walk step by step to the peak of martial arts after studying in the university. She had a considerable symbolic significance and inspired generations of junior brothers and sisters. Qianhui had a buzz cut and looked like a feminine boy, but her eyes were as deep as the sea and had a strange charm. The host didn't dare to look at her in the eyes. He turned his head stiffly to the side and announced the next procedure. According to the popular saying in Jianghu, the witch had her own hypnotism. While Qianhui was giving a short speech, the broadcast switched to the stands and swept past the top two teams of the last competition, Shanbei University Martial Arts Club and Sanjiang College Martial Arts Club. Peng Liyun was leaning against the back of the chair. His body was relaxed and his eyes were empty. People who knew him would know that this was his habit and style. People who didn't know him would think that he was arrogant and didn't care about his opponents or the draw. Su Wanyan's eye bags were as heavy as usual. He straightened his back subconsciously and paid attention to the draw that was about to begin. Beside him, Fang Zhirong had many freckles on his face. He was a delicate and pretty boy, but his expression was obviously arrogant. In the seats of Sanjiang College, Chu Hui was wearing a tuxedo. He looked calm, but his hands had changed their posture. They were clasped in front of his stomach, and his fingers were clasped tightly. Qianhui didn't talk for long before she got to the point. On behalf of the organizing committee, she announced the adjustment of the competition format of this university martial arts competition. The first part of the competition remained the same. There were still 4 groups and 4 seeds. The rest of the teams would draw lots for 2 or 3 rounds of single elimination and enter the corresponding groups. The team that drew the left position would have the home advantage. The group competition was still a single cycle, and the top 2 would emerge. After that, there would be cross matches. The first and second would fight, and the top 8 would be eliminated to determine the top 4. At this stage, the elimination system was supposed to continue, and the winners would go to the capital. However, in order to ensure that the strong teams wouldn't be disqualified because of early clashes, the organizing committee made some adjustments. The 4 teams would fight a single cycle, and the top 2 would enter the national finals. In this way, there would be one more round of competition. The division competition of this martial arts competition would be held a week earlier, the week after the professional ranking event. Good news! Kai Zongming didn't hide his smile. This meant that even if they met Shanbei in advance, Songcheng University Martial Arts Club would still have a great chance to appear. It seems that we have to fight Shanbei at least once. Li Mao sighed. The top 4 would be in a single cycle. Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other and smiled. Then he turned to his brother-in-law and made a fist gesture. Peng Liyun arrived as scheduled. Lin Kei took his hand out of his trouser pocket and made a fist as a response. Flames were burning deep in his eyes. Gieserscher snorted and poured the last sip of wine into his throat. Group A Shanbei University. Group B Haiyuan College. Group C, Shannon University. Group D, Sanjiang College. Tianhui drew the seeded teams first. The top 4 teams were the same as last year, which showed their dominance. The drawing continued. Teams were drawn one by one, each with sadness and joy. Group C, 5th round of elimination. Home team, Songqing University Martial Arts Club. The guest announced with bright eyes. Lu Cheng and Lin Ke were already famous. Group match against Shannon. Yenjika whispered to herself, her dimples showing. Shannon and Haiyuan were slightly weaker than Sanjiang, and Sanjiang was much stronger than Shanbei. Li Mao and the others didn't hide their joy. They gave each other a fist bump, forgetting that there were cameras recording everything. Lu Qing coughed twice, cleared his throat, and reminded him, Shannon is not weak either. They should have 3 professional 9th pin fighters this year. And their leading player, Mu Yu, is a supernatural power user, known as the Bane. He's not easy to deal with. Understood. Several members of the martial arts club answered in high spirits. With you and Lin Ke, we don't need to worry about the Bane. At Shannon University, the members of the martial arts club gathered to watch the drawing of lots. When Songqing University entered Group C, they held their breaths, quieted down, and felt depressed. It's okay. Even if we lose, we can still advance as the second in the group. After a long time, Muyu comforted his teammates. He was born with an old face. Although he was a young man in his early 20s, he looked like he was in his 40s or 50s. He was often ridiculed as Old Man Mu. His supernatural ability was misfortune. Any opponent who competed with him would inexplicably have bad luck. And when he won the competition, there would be a backlash around him. Among the people he knew, there would be a random person who would be unlucky for 3 days. But the degree was relatively mild. Because of this, the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University had no coach or instructor. Maybe we can win? Captain, I used to believe in science, but now I believe in you. Another leading member of the Martial Arts Club, Lin Xiaoji, tried to cheer everyone up. With a high ponytail, she looked fresh and clean. Around her neck was a necklace with a Taoist amulet. On her left wrist was a consecrated Buddhist bead. And in her right hand was a small cross. Her clothes were embroidered with Arabic characters. She was wearing all kinds of anti-misfortune items from various religions. Let's fight. We'll know after we fight. Muyu clenched his teeth and clenched his fists. The 5th round of the knockout match, the away team. The guest drew Songqing University's first opponent. Guannan School. Guannan School. In the office of the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University, Li Mao, Sun Jian, Kai Zhongming and the others were stunned at first, then overjoyed. Last year, the Martial Arts Club couldn't advance in the group because they lost to them. Everyone had been holding a grudge. Now they finally had a chance to take revenge. Every dog has its day. Lin Ke closed his eyes and put his right hand back into his trouser pocket, clenching it into a fist. Lu Cheng's spirits were lifted. He looked at Yenjika happily and smiled at the camera that had turned around. This is a good opponent. Start from where you failed. Chapter 307. In the jubilant office, Guqing knocked on the table and said with a smile, Senior Sister Lin, tell us about the current situation of the Martial Arts Club of Guannan School. Lin Hua had a close friend in Guannan School, who would tell her about the situation from time to time. At this moment, she was thinking and organizing her words. Guyu is in his senior year, but he is still a professional 9th pin. It is said that Fei Sanli is close to the level of professional 9th pin, but he hasn't participated in the ranking event yet, so no one knows whether he will succeed. Ji Lan got the certificate of amateur 1st pin in June, and the new members are the best at amateur 2nd pin. Hearing about the current situation of Guannan School, Li Mao, Sun Jian and the others were stunned, as if they were dreaming. A year had passed. Ji Lan had advanced 1 pin, Fei Sanli had advanced half a step, and Guyu had become stronger, but he still couldn't reach the threshold of the Dan stage. This was a normal change in the martial arts club of a university. But in Li Mu's club, 1 professional 9th pin, 1 amateur 1st pin, and several amateur second pin and amateur third pin fighters had become 2 Dan stage fighters, 1 professional ninth pin fighter, and several amateur first pin and amateur second pin fighters. In the martial arts club of Guanan School. Seeing the result of the draw, Jilon blurted out, full of fear and frustration. What a coincidence! They had drawn last year's opponent, Songqing University. F***CK. Guyu bulged his muscles and shook his clothes. He grabbed the cup on the table and smashed it on the ground. In the sound of the cup breaking, several new members stepped back in fear, not daring to face their club president's anger. After Guyu strode away, Fei Sanli touched his bald head and smiled bitterly. That's it for this year. I'd better participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin next week. I can't waste time. Let's go. Let's go. He waved his hand and walked out of the office, leaving the new members silent and Jilon clenching her teeth. Jilon, recite the strength of Songqing University's substitutes. I'm sure they won't let both Lu Cheng and Lin Ke fight against us. Coach Guzhen touched his grizzled hair and sighed. Jilon paused for a moment, then took out her phone and opened her notepad. She read weekly, Li Mao, amateur first pin, Sun Jian, amateur first pin, Yan Zheka, amateur second pin but did not attend the amateur ranking event in September, Lin Hua, amateur second pin, Kai Zhongming, amateur second pin, He Zi, amateur second pin, Wang Dali, amateur second pin, Jin Liu, amateur second pin, Guiqing, amateur third pin, Mu Jinyan, amateur third pin. After she finished reciting, she silently added in her heart, as for the main force, Lu Cheng was a professional 8th pin fighter of professional 8th pin, and Lin Ke was above the normal 8th pin Dan stage. This was the configuration of the top 4 in the final circle. How were they supposed to fight? Friendship first, competition second? The autumn air was refreshing and the night breeze was chilly. Lu Cheng and Yan Zheka strolled along the lakeside hand in hand. They were in a good mood because of the result of the lottery just now. While recalling the past events of last year, they looked forward to the future and outlined their dreams. A gentle breeze brushed past his face, and the water was still. After the discussion, Lu Cheng was about to take a step forward when he suddenly felt a girl tugging at his sleeve. It was a weak tug. What's wrong? He tilted his head and asked in amusement. It was rare to see such a coup like this. Yan Zheka was wearing Lu Cheng's coat. Her glossy black hair hung down to her vest. Her face was fair and delicate. Her eyelashes fluttered a few times, and she said timidly, Cheng, I need to discuss something with you. What is it? Lu Cheng was confused. I don't want to participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin next week. Yan Zheka's eyes drifted. I didn't have much hope in the first place. I just wanted to gain some practical experience for the division contest. But now the martial arts competition will be held a week earlier. I'm afraid I won't be able to recover in time. I can't put the cart before the horse. According to her usual temperament and style of doing things, she should talk about this matter with Cheng rationally and frankly. But somehow, when the words came to her mouth, she inexplicably felt guilty and guilty. Slammed the table. Why do I feel guilty? Why do I feel guilty? When Lu Cheng heard about the adjustment of the competition schedule, he had a hunch in this regard. Therefore, he was not surprised. He smiled and said, Of course. The ranking event of professional ninth pin lasts for 2 weeks and 4 days. There are 3 high-level fights a day. It's too intense. Besides, you don't have abnormal stamina like me. You won't be able to recover in a week. Although he said so, he still felt a little disappointed and regretful. He had been back in Songqing for 2 months and had no private time with Ke. If he couldn't participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin, he couldn't go to the hotel openly. Cough. Thinking of this, Lu Cheng added another sentence to show that he didn't mind. He chuckled and said, Anyway, there will be plenty of chances in the future. Yan Zheka turned her head and spat at him. She swung her hand and hit him, saying, What are you talking about? I said there will be plenty of chances in the ranking event of professional ninth pin. Lu Cheng laughed. Before he finished his words, Yan Zheka suddenly stood on tiptoe, closed her eyes, and kissed him on the corner of his mouth. She deliberately said in a delicate voice, Darling, you're so nice, her cheeks flushed. After the kiss, she turned around and ran away, swinging her hands and leaving a clear and melodious laughter. Lu Qing was stunned for 2 or 3 seconds. He touched the corner of his mouth subconsciously, and then a smile appeared on his face. He strode to catch up with her. Only at times like this, when he had experienced a lot and become more mature, could he see the 19-year-old boy in his heart. Yenjika went back to the dormitory with light steps and opened the door. She didn't want to be teased by Li Liantong, so she preemptively said, "Dirty Tong, you're still memorizing books at this late hour?" Li Liantong screamed, "I don't want to either. I'm in my 2nd year of university. There are more and more professional courses, and they're getting more and more difficult. Damn, that long list of translated Latin words is killing me." Yenjika felt the same. She pursed her lips and said, "So are we. It's not enough to just listen to the classes. We used to go out once a week, but now we have to wait for 2 or 3 weeks before we have time." Of course, this refers to the top 5%. If you just want to graduate and get a diploma, you just need to listen to the classes and study hard before the exam. You can do whatever you want in your daily life. Recently, my dates with Chung have been more in the self-study room and the library. You only go out once every 2 or 3 weeks. Can your Qing bear it? Li Liantong turned her head in surprise and started driving out of habit. What do you mean by bear it? We see each other every day. Yenjika pretended not to understand. Li Liantong clicked her tongue and said, "You've been dating for almost 9 months. Don't tell me there's no progress. I don't believe your Chung is a monk. As for men, once they have a breakthrough, they'll want more. When they're young and full of vigor, they'll definitely be eager and passionate." Before she could finish her words, Yenjika picked up the decorative landline and said grumpily, "What's wrong?" "Hello, is this Yaoling? There's a female hooligan here." Their conversation made sure Xiangyang and Zhong Yanru want to laugh. The latter had the best relationship with Yenjika, so she quickly changed the topic. "Dirty Tong, I feel that you're wrong. What's wrong with monks? I remember it was written in a book called Water Margin. The first word is monk, the second word is monk, the third word is ghost music official, and the fourth word is hungry ghost in sex." Li Liantong nodded immediately. Yes. There are so many stories about monks." Yenjika was relieved that the topic had changed. While listening to their nonsense, she took out her phone and replied to Lu Cheng's message. At the same time, she checked the forum to see what people thought about the result of the draw. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Eternal Nightfall, Yan Xiaoling put her post at the top with the title Martial Arts Club's Draw Reaction Live Broadcast. She wrote in the main post, "I'm crying. I'm too scared to go because I'm not a member of the special training team. No, cross it out. I can't enter the office because I'm not a member of the special training team. But I have a spy. Next, let's welcome the reporter from the front. Baozi, no, the cat reporter from the front. Many cats to report." On the second post, many cats posted. When we drew Guannan School, Lu Qing looked at Senior Yen for the 28th time tonight, and Senior Yen looked back at him for the 28th time. What? Feeling wronged? Yenjika opened her mouth and looked up. She recalled what had happened that night and counted carefully. Liar. There were only 19 times. She looked down and continued to read the report. Lin K closed his eyes, put his hands in his pockets, expressionless as usual. Jin Jin kept peeking at him. President Kai Zhongming chatted with Senior Li Mao happily, which made Li Mao want to cover his ears several times. Reporter Xu was like a shark that smelled blood, looking from one to another, from another to this. Senior Sister Guoqing gave Senior Sister Lin Hua a bear hug. Coach Shi drank all the wine, turned the small pot upside down and kept shaking it, but didn't shake out a single drop, so he stayed out of the situation. Looking at the description of these bystanders, Yenjika smiled faintly but still felt warm in her heart. This is our martial arts club, our... What about your cat reporter? Unparalleled Dragon King asked curiously. Many cats replied, meow meow meow. In the busy and fulfilling days, the university martial arts competition was getting closer and closer. Finally, that Saturday came. Mu Jinyan and Yan Xiaoling, who didn't make it into the competition list, came to the stadium together, only to see that it was crowded with many students. I'm so excited. It's our home ground. Yan Xiaoling jumped around the stands and found a seat. Mu Jinyan was wearing a black-edged white Songqing University martial arts suit with a backpack. When she sat down, she took out a banner with the name Lin K written on it, a trumpet, an inflatable hammer, and other cheering tools. Ah, Jin, you prepared these? Yan Xiaoling was dumbfounded. Shouldn't I? Mu Jinyan looked at her in confusion. You didn't prepare? Aren't you a professional fan? I'm too excited. Oh, I have to help senior sister one. Yan Xiaoling was ashamed and ran away from her seat. Fanfan Dragon King, Okamoto, Bull Demon King Naive Chichi. I've embarrassed the forum. In the locker room of the home team, Lu Cheng and Yenjika sat side by side at the end of the bench, with their backs against the wall. They closed their eyes to rest, waiting for their turn. He vaguely heard the cheering and shouting outside, and couldn't help but recall the situation of the home ground last time. That time, they lost to Wenqing School and Zhouzhenquan, but they weren't disappointed. Instead, they shouted the slogan "Next time" in unison. While thinking, he found that the shouting outside was getting more and more orderly and louder. What are they shouting? Lu Qing curiously tilted his ear and concentrated his hearing. That voice suddenly became clear, and the sound of a tsunami took shape. We're here. We're here. Next time. We're here? Lu Qing suddenly understood what his classmates meant. This was a continuation of the previous cheering. This was an answer to the past. His eyes were warm, and he clenched his fists. Yes, we're here. Sorry to keep you waiting. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.